race tire, just wasn't particularly quick on one lap, so maybe we saw more of that this morning.
Both your guys found it very easy to pass Williams at the Nürburgring. Is it as easy to find opportunities here?
Not generally, no. It does depend how they're handling. I mean, obviously Williams are in trouble at Nürburgring. That made it much easier, but it will be much tougher to overtake it, but it's possible.
And the Ferrari weather forecast?
Well, like this, we're just going to get a little bit of moisture in the air, but it shouldn't rain.
Ross, thank you very much.
Well, as Nick poses the weather question to Ross Brawn, we get confirmation that it's now a 1 in 2 shot as to whether it's going to rain or not. And certainly if you just use the old-fashioned method, which just most people down that grid have been doing, and look upwards, it don't look too clever.
You get one in the eye if you look upwards at the moment, because there are spots of rain from what we're hearing out on the track. It's nothing particularly heavy and nothing to force them to change choice of tyre at the moment, but a bit more rain, and well, a lot more rain would really help Michelin, as we heard earlier on when we were talking to Peter, because the deep grooves they've got work really well in the torrential downpours we had on Friday.
To ensure that the Grand Prix cars can keep their tyres warm and not have a problem of tyre pressures dropping as well as tyre temperature dropping.
Well, we'll see how busy Bernd Maylander is going to be today. I'm sure he'd be quite happy to be sitting throughout the race at the end of the pit lane and not to be deployed. Very experienced driver though in sports car racing and touring car racing, so a very capable man behind the wheel of the SL55 as it sets off now to check the track conditions, check everything is clear, and the countdown continues to the start of the formation lap. The grid beginning to clear of people now. Now the Ferrari weather forecast reckons it's not going to rain, just going to be moisture in the air. Let's just quickly run you through the grid once again. Montoya on pole, Barrichello alongside in the Ferrari. Then it's Michael Schumacher, only had 1 pole, 1 win in 11 British Grand Prix appearances so far. Ralf Schumacher next up, his best qualifying performance ever there in 4th place. Kimi Raikkonen 5th, with Monaco winner and twice Silverstone winner David Coulthard alongside him in 6th. Jarno Trulli again 7th for Renault. Mika Salo in his best qualifying performance of the season in 8th. Then it's Villeneuve, Heidfeld, Massa. Then it's Jenson Button in 12th place ahead of Olivier Panis. Takuma Sato on the harder Bridgestone tyre, as Eddie Jordan was telling us earlier, looking to try and score points back from 14th on the grid. Then it's McNish, Frentzen and Fisichella with the other Jordan with a lot of work to do. Bernaldi, Irvine, Mark Webber starting in 20th place, and then right at the back after his problems in qualifying with a coolant leak, an engine misfire and a last-minute dash in the spare car. He only got out of the pit lane really with about 4 seconds to spare to enable him to get across the line before the checkered flag came out yesterday, De La Rosa, and he just managed to scrape onto the grid. And well, there were lots of talk afterwards in the Jaguar pit, and it may well have been about the decisions that were taken during that qualifying session.
Just waiting to see the covers come off Montoya's, and he's got a brand new set of Michelin, and that's not something we've seen for quite some time, because Michelin up until this Grand Prix always required quite a number of miles on the tyres. So this is the difference between the tyre that we've seen Michelin produce from Monaco through Canada and to the European Grand Prix at Nürburgring, coming to a more aggressive surface, a higher speed racetrack. And Montoya starting on a, looks like certainly brand new fronts, and we presume brand new rears, as is Ferrari, and that's Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, well, we're used to seeing that with the Bridgestone runners. Michael Schumacher normally starting on a brand new set, but as you say, a new set of Michelin tyres, at least on the front. Well, yeah, it is new on the rear as well. So a whole new set of tyres for Montoya, and that is an indicator that Michelin have changed their approach somewhat. They said they would for this race at Silverstone. It is a very different surface anyway, so they would have had to have changed their approach from the Nürburgring, which did not provide as much grip. But here, they're hoping. They've taken pole position once again, but it's Grand Prix wins that they want to add to their tally. And so far this season, Michelin have scored just the 1 victory, and that was in Malaysia, courtesy of Ralf Schumacher. Montoya still to take his first Grand Prix win of 2002. Could it be at Silverstone? Well, they're about to set off on the formation lap, and then over the next 60 laps we will find out. Rubens is waving. Rubens Barrichello has a problem, and we've seen this already this year. It was Barcelona, remember, where Barrichello failed to get off the line at the start, and it looks like problems once again for the Brazilian.
And he's absolutely, I mean, he's furious, shaking his head. We saw, as you say, in Barcelona. Whether it's the same problem here, we're just literally coming within seconds of the lights going out, his hands go up, So the engine has stalled. As he tried to engage the gear, pulled the gear, and just a clunk. Whatever was the result now is a scrabble by Ferrari. Are they going to be able to get this car started up? He's got to look, the wheels are going round. I wonder if it's a clutch problem for Barrichello, because I think, for me, they're unable to either disengage the clutch, and now you're going to see, well, they're going to have to push this car because where they are on the grid. So Barrichello, we think we've got it going now. So Barrichello, there he goes, lays rubber. He is absent. He's going to have to start. By the time he gets back, he will be at the back of the grid. If he'd had that problem but gotten away before the entire field had gone past him, he could have made his way back up to his rightful front row grid position. Now Barrichello is going to take his position at the back of the field, behind, or just slightly behind, Pedro de la Rosa in the Jaguar.
Well, what about that then? He's going to start from the very back of the field. We've seen drivers do that in the past here. It's going to be very tough for him to make up ground.
And then for Ralf Schumacher, maybe that's been a great opportunity, because there's clear air ahead of Ralf Schumacher, and it's alongside Michael, but Ralf, with the power of the BMW, and there we just happen to watch Ralf Schumacher as he makes his way around, coming through Luffield. He will be, I'm sure, buoyed up by the thought that he's got an opportunity to make it a Williams 1-2 into Copse for the first time.
What a disappointment for Rubens, though. Fantastic qualifying. He beat his teammate Michael Schumacher again in qualifying. Winner last time out at the Nürburgring. But for Rubens Barrichello, he now faces the prospect of 60 difficult laps, trying to fight his way back to the front. Juan Pablo Montoya leads the field around then onto the starting grid. Barrichello forced to start at the back after problems getting off the line, and he really has got a tough battle in front of him. There is the Ferrari behind the Jaguar of Pedro de la Rosa, and that means Ralf Schumacher has a clean run towards Copse Corner.
Yes, that's what I'm going to watch. Ralf Schumacher absolutely determined now to take advantage of the misfortunes to Rubens Barrichello. There we see him coming up at the tail of the field, and Ralf Schumacher will no doubt be looking on those lights, waiting for them to flicker from red to go to out.
Okay.
And there's more trouble down there, so I thought I saw another hand.
Here we go then, the British Grand Prix. It's all set to get underway. Juan Pablo Montoya from pole position. Will he still be leading at the end of the first lap? Away they go. Juan Pablo Montoya getting the start. We've got yellows further back, and one of the Toyotas, I think it's McNish on the grass. It's one of the Saubers, it's Massa. Felipe Massa spins to the outside onto that new runoff area at Copse Corner. No damage done. I think he can get going, and it's Montoya who leads from Michael Schumacher. Ralf Schumacher slotted into third position. And then behind Ralf, it's Raikkonen and Coulthard, and the Renaults are well up.
Great start from Jenson Button, came all the way up from 13th. So there we see one of the Toyotas.
Yeah, it was McNish. Poor Alan McNish, his first British Grand Prix, and he hasn't got off the line. Disastrous for him. Watch in the background as Barrichello tries to make up some ground. Heidfeld has not got away particularly well, down in 10th position.
So Ralf Schumacher not able to take advantage of that clear air ahead of him, but great start from Jenson Button, up to 7th place from 13th on the grid, and clearly a low fuel load for that particular Renault at the start of the race.
Yes, great effort from Button there. He's right behind his teammate Jarno Trulli, who is 6th. Then it's Mika Salo, who got away well from his 8th place. Here comes Barrichello on the move, trying to get up to 14th position past Fisichella.
But look, spots of rain on the camera lens, so these drivers must be careful. But Barrichello absolutely flying. Just got ahead of the Jordan coming into Abbey Turn, and then Felipe Massa, who also spun at Copse. Barrichello now looking at the back of Pedro de la Rosa.
This is the battle to watch, and in fact it's Sato. He also got past Sato. That was the last one.
It's Massa again, a second time. He's been off at Prairie once this morning, now a second time here during the Grand Prix itself.
Montoya leads, Michael Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher, Raikkonen putting pressure on Ralf Schumacher, no doubt about it. Villeneuve comes through in 9th position, and now there is Barrichello coming through in 14th.
Just behind Irvine, and the rain is beginning to fall. They're just into one lap. There is the rain that is falling sufficiently heavy, and I would think that if it continues, we saw this in the Porsche Super Cup earlier on in the day, it didn't get serious enough to bring a safety car out. Different issue for Formula One.
Montoya has an advantage of just over a second from Michael Schumacher, but Jarno Trulli, there is Alan McNish. I can't believe it. What disappointment. Here comes Barrichello on Irvine, and he does sneak through.
Yes, Irvine was fighting for position, legitimately entitled to do that. but Barrichello made it through.
Look at the replay here. You could see McNish, and they did a great job to avoid him at the back there. Fisichella in particular. Massa got squeezed out in that midfield battle. Not quite sure who put him on the grass. Wasn't a lot he could do.
I think he put himself on the grass. I think he just slightly overreacted, and excitement and tension coming down into Copse is extreme. And there you just see on the left, right, a picture of Felipe Massa having an adventurous first lap off at Copse, off at Priory, and we're waiting to see whether he made it back. He's completed the lap. He's in 20th place and last. Now that rain, look at it. This is the problem around Luffield. You can see the cars. Ralf Schumacher struggling as Raikkonen tries to put pressure on third place Ralf Schumacher.
Oh,
he's going to have a go down the inside into Copse.
Here he comes. Raikkonen going for the slot, and he goes through, but Ralf Schumacher stays with him around the outside. Good racing between these two, but this could give Coulthard the opportunity. On the run up to Beckett, here comes Coulthard. Coulthard to the right of Ralf Schumacher, diving through, but he can't quite make it. So Raikkonen does get through. That puts him up into third, but Coulthard now on the chase.
Yeah, fantastic pass by Raikkonen. And David Coulthard, opportunistic, saw a way to get alongside Ralf Schumacher, had to back out of it, turning into Beckett's, otherwise they would have collided.
Well, Raikkonen certainly on a charge on a first lap, and this on the second lap. We're watching Barrichello still making his moves, getting past Bernoldi now,
up to
and that's
12th
up to
place.
12th place. Yes, so Barrichello on a charge and picking off cars one by one as he continues round the lap. The next one he's got to try and get past is that of Olivier Panis, but Coulthard running in 5th.
Well, Coulthard had an opportunity at Beckett's, couldn't get it done. He's now going to do all that work all over again, coming down the hill into Bridge. And ever so tricky with the rain. It seems to have stopped. Well, the teams are certainly probably getting their wet weather tyres prepared, but we're not seeing any rain coming onto the camera lenses. But look at the view from Barrichello, looking forward to Jacques Villeneuve. It'll probably be a sprint past him as they go down.
Yes, that's Panis, I think, John, the other BAR. Look at Barrichello looking for grip, using slightly different lines here. Now look at the power of Luffield. Great drive off the corner. Surely this won't be a problem. The only thing is, he go outside or inside? Surely he'll cut back here. Yes, he does. And out breaks down the inside into Copse.
Again, the rain falling much more heavily here in Copse. This is on the sort of eastern side of the circuit. So Juan Pablo Montoya leads by 1.3 seconds from Michael Schumacher, who's a further 3 seconds ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, and these two really just running away from the rest of the field.
Yes, Raikkonen not able to maintain that same sort of pace. Raikkonen, though, running in a good, strong third place. Let's take a look at the replay here as Barrichello went past Panis.
Yeah, good, well planned. I mean, Barrichello knew before he even started this lap where his best shot lay. He just had to position himself such that he could get a good run off Luffield, and Panis was going to make it difficult, which he's fully entitled to do. It is a battle for position. Nevertheless, Ferrari horsepower versus Honda, it is no contest.
The top two are getting away from the opposition, there's no doubt. Bit of work going on to check that wet tyres are ready if necessary, and Barrichello now has come up behind Nick Heidfeld, so it is the Sauber that is next target.
This will not be so easy because horsepower is very similar indeed, but again, Barrichello is just going to be patient. He's got to wait. There's not much chance of diving up the inside into Luffield or into Brooklands where we are now. He's just got to get himself in position, as we saw him do with Olivier Panis, and do it coming into Copse.
I don't know whether Montoya made a mistake on that last lap, but he lost quite a bit of time to Schumacher, as you can see. It was 1.3 seconds last time around. It was 0.6 of a second that last lap.
I would just put it down to Montoya maybe just being slightly more apprehensive, more cautious. Michael, of course, so confident, so familiar with Ferrari and Bridgestone tyres. But Pablo maybe being a little bit more circumspect. Nevertheless, he has the lead, but it's down to 0.6 of a second. In fact, it's even less as that, and they come into Stowe.
Montoya has been hunted down by the 4 times world champion. He's getting closer and looking for an opportunity, but it's not easy to pass here. Here comes Barrichello. He's showing it is possible to pass, and he's giving a bit of a signal there to Heidfeld as he goes through. That puts him into 10th.
Yes, I think he would like to have made that pass a lot earlier in the lap, because it's taken him half a lap longer to get ahead of Nick Heidfeld. Then they've got Jacques Villeneuve in 9th place to challenge, but the trouble is for Barrichello, the nearer he gets to the front, the more difficult it's going to become to get past. And certainly once you get past Villeneuve and Salo in 8th place, then you're looking at the 2 Renaults, and that's going to be a different matter.
Watching on board with Montoya, you can see the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher closing up under braking in certain key areas, but the rain coming down that little bit harder now perhaps as this race continues, and that's going to make life so difficult on their dry weather tyres. They might have grooves, but look at the Ferrari fans. They can see Michael Schumacher's getting closer to the back of Juan Pablo Montoya, and meanwhile David Coulthard is passing Ralf Schumacher and or trying to. I don't think he's managed to do it yet, so it's that battle still going on, but DC is still behind him.
So Michael Schumacher pressuring all the time, seeks every opportunity, and of course we don't know what the fuel loads are of Montoya and Michael Schumacher. We have to think they're probably fairly similar. Ralf Schumacher in the second of the Williams BMWs may well have opted to go on to a very long first run, depending on the weight fuel loads. Just do not know.
Look at this, Montoya's made a mistake. Montoya's made a mistake.
Schumacher, but he can't get back. He's right on the exit of Abbey, but he's alongside. They're going to come down into bridge. Out of club corner, I'm sorry.
This is great stuff, and Montoya just locked a break into Vale there, and now Schumacher's going to have a go into Abbey. Montoya breaks late, but he can't quite do it.
No, Montoya was able to stop Michael getting any momentum build up out of club. Here we see that incident again. Michael Schumacher right under the rear wing, comes alongside Montoya, draws a cross, basically blocks Michael Schumacher, but of course goes too deep and too long into the corner. Michael also does the same thing. Then Michael goes the wrong way around the outside out of club, side by side, almost touching wheels, almost interlocking wheels, but that stopped Michael getting the momentum, and now we're back to that 0.5 or 6 of a second as they come across start-finish line.
What a race between these two. Montoya determined to hold on to the lead of the British Grand Prix, and Michael Schumacher challenging. Here comes Barrichello on Salo. That puts him up into 8th place.
And Barrichello, fastest man on that first sector, so the circuit is slick. It's down to a 1:29 for the leading cars. Barrichello, he doesn't know what's what. He's on a 1:27. In fact, behind the lead cars, Raikkonen, Ralf Schumacher, Coulthard, Trulli, Button are all doing 28s. So Montoya's slowing the pace of this race down.
Alan McNish out of the race, as you saw. They tried and tried to get that Toyota back into the race, but they have now given up, and McNish looks furious. But let's concentrate on the battle for the lead here. Michael Schumacher takes a very wide line into Vale, into club, and accelerating out. You can see again a contrast in the line they choose.
But the interesting thing is the speed of Montoya, and therefore Michael Schumacher, is allowing Raikkonen, Ralf Schumacher, Coulthard, Trulli and Button to close back up. Forget about Rubens Barrichello. He's a second and a bit a lap quicker than anybody.
So perhaps the tyres on Montoya's car not just going through a bit of a bad patch in terms of grip. Now, we've seen this in the past. It might come back to him. It's difficult to determine, but the Ferrari pit can see their man bearing down on the race leader. Conditions still changing. It's still Raikkonen in 3rd for McLaren, and it's Ralf Schumacher in 4th, Coulthard in 5th, Trulli is 6th, Button is in 7th place. Then it's Barrichello now in 8th, bearing down on Button, but there's a 4-second gap between them.
Watch Michael Schumacher as he comes out of club. What he's trying to do, he couldn't achieve it there. He was trying to, I think, get into position to get up closer to Montoya as they make the run up to Beckett, and then be on the exit of Beckett, strong enough to get alongside Montoya, but not close enough. In fact, he's just decided to draw back a little bit at your toll station. And there we see Salo off at Copse Corner. It's the 3rd car this weekend. We've seen a 3rd Formula 1 car, I hasten to add, off at Copse.
Oh, what a shame. He was running in what was then 9th place. He's been passed by Arnoldi, so that will put him up into 11th. Let's take a look here. John coming down. He had Jacques Villeneuve right behind him. Turns into the corner. Looks okay initially.
Oh, he spun it. He spun it. He maybe just clipped the curb, and the moisture on the curb would have been enough. Now, there's the value of that tarmac, that high modular tarmac that is meant to give cars grip in a spin. It certainly allowed the chance for Salo to recover, get back in the race, also for Felipe Massa on the first lap.
Look at this, Panis on the charge, trying to get down the inside there and get past Heidfeld. It didn't quite work, but we've got a real battle here going on for position with Salo now right in that group. This is all about the 10th place, because Villeneuve has now moved up into 9th courtesy of Salo spin, and here comes Irvine. No, not quite.
Well, there's a group of 11 cars, 9th through to 18th, that were covered by a second. This is the group of cars that we're watching here. Takuma Sato went through, Giancarlo Fisichella back to the front, Juan Pablo Montoya being haunted down, and again rain on the camera lens. Be careful on the exit of Copse. That curb which drivers like to use just to sort of round out the exit of the corner will be treacherous.
Well, Michael Schumacher's getting a very good view of that Williams chassis as it comes through the Beckett's corner. An idea on how well it's handling, but he's still not quite close enough to challenge. Look at Raikkonen in the background now as the battle continues. Sato there was trying to find a way to get past the Jaguar of Eddie Irvine, but it didn't come off, so he slots back into place once again. And once more, the leaders heading down towards Vale and Club. Schumacher not quite close enough to make that launch that he did a few laps ago.
Takuma Sato really being a big loser at the start. He started from 14th from the grid and he's gone, well, he's running in fact now down in 16th place and battling with Eddie Irvine, which I assume is a very lightly loaded Jaguar. Sato, I suspect, could be, because they're on that harder tyre, be on a one-stop strategy. So watch Jordans as they come through in the latter stages of this race. This battle, the midfield battle, continues. So Heidfeld.
Yeah, look at this, yes. Frentzen right here. We're watching with Heinz-Harald Frentzen. 14th, he's got a chance to get past Heidfeld. Heidfeld did get a bit slowed down there, and he manages to nip through with right ahead of them. They've got Olivier Panis. So Frentzen taking advantage of a little loss of momentum. Eddie Irvine still behind them, and then it's Takuma Sato, of course.
Well, it's a cracking race, and Kimi Raikkonen now being drawn up to the back of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. Suddenly Ferrari and Williams at the front are back down to a race pace of 1 minute 26. The rain has stopped, but look at that dive down the inside. Nick Heidfeld loses another place to Olivier Panis.
I think this is what settled that up.
Yes, it is. That's what allowed Frentzen then to get past Heidfeld.
Yep, and then Frentzen managed to sneak past on the inside. We're riding on board with Michael Schumacher and looking at Montoya sliding around, and now Schumacher's had a brilliant run out of Stowe corner. Great momentum here. Montoya takes the inside line, prevents Schumacher from diving down the inside, but Montoya slithering, sliding, and the Ferrari could get a great exit here at a club, but can he do anything with it?
Well, Michael's just got more grip, and Montoya in his defensive entry into these corners is putting himself offline for the exit of the corner. It's the exit that's the important part of a corner, but of course when you're racing for position you are defending, and therefore what Montoya is doing is slowing again the pace of this race down and allowing Kimi Raikkonen, as we see Mark Webber, he's just about, can he recover? That gravel is very, very soft. I think Mark Webber, and that's up, that's Stowe corner.
He said something failed on the car, on the radio. It's been running well, and that's a shame because Mark has one of the best finishing records so far this season. But back to the battle for the lead, and it's Montoya versus Michael Schumacher. These two have had their head-to-heads, but it's lasting a bit longer this time. There hasn't been any contact between them. Well, maybe the faintest touch through Club Corner a few laps ago. So far so good, they both survive, and Raikkonen getting that little bit closer lap by lap in third place. Ralf Schumacher, remember, holding on to fourth. He's some 5.6 seconds off these two. Coulthard is still right behind him, and now Barrichello's caught Button.
So a battle going on. This is going to put Barrichello up to 7th place. Jenson Button, of course, as he gets further to the front, as we explained, is going to become more difficult. Button's not going to be a walk in the park to get past again with the rain falling now. This is the southern part of the circuit going down into Stowe corner. Patrick Head in the Williams, he's enjoying this battle. I mean, he loves motor racing, and we're seeing a cracking Grand Prix right now.
We are.
Whoa, look at that slippery down at Club. The Ferrari not moving around, it is absolutely rock solid as Schumacher applies the all 850 horsepower of the Ferrari through those Bridgestone tyres.
Well, again, you can see and Massa spun again. Felipe Massa, the Brazilian, in the Sauber. He's having a very, very eventful British Grand Prix.
And that was on the exit coming out of Beckett's corner onto Hangar Straight.
So here we are riding on board with Michael Schumacher, and still he cannot find a way of getting past Juan Pablo Montoya. Montoya trying to judge the conditions with this little bit of rain falling. The track getting slippery. It's tough to know how hard to push.
Well, we've just completed 11 laps of this 60-lap Grand Prix, and so far it's Montoya and Michael Schumacher. There's this battle going on. Can he get past on horsepower now? Barrichello in 8th, looking to take 7th. He's going to come alongside. Jenson Button, is he going to defend? Is he going to defend his screen? Yes, well done. I wanted to see more of that from Jenson Button. He did a great job defending his 7th place from Barrichello.
Yeah, great to see that from Button, who once or twice earlier this season gave up his place perhaps a little easily. Well, he was not having it there at Copse. Drove around the outside, and that takes bravery and commitment, and he stays in front of Barrichello. And now Rubens knows he's going to have a battle to move further up inside the top 10. He might have a great car, but he is in a battle here with Button, and then Jarno Trulli just ahead of him. Coulthard would be next on that list. And let's take another look at this.
So Barrichello does what we have seen him do. He's virtually alongside Button. Button stays longer on the throttle. Of course, Barrichello had to back off that little bit earlier. It gave Button the opportunity to swoop across the front of the Ferrari. The Renault guys are loving it, but look, more rain.
Yes, it's still looking very slippery as here comes Barrichello again, looking for that inside opportunity into Abbey, but it's not there, so he has to now think ahead and maybe plan his move into Kopp's next.
Oh, a big wobble for Jenson Button. Look at the rain falling in the pits there. You can see it clearly. The rain is going to fall heavily. This will be, well, the teams, in fact, there will be no safety car. It's up to the teams to come in and make a choice themselves.
Sato's off, John. Sato's off down at Club Corner. The weather conditions causing problems here. Trying to listen up on the radio as the top two come through. Raikkonen in third.
But it's up to the teams to choose at what point they want to come in and change from the dry weather grooved slick tyre to either intermediates, and there we see Arrows preparing for it, either for the intermediate tyre, which we know from Bridgestone is a great tyre, less good from Michelin, or a set of full wets. And I suspect, with the way the rain is falling, this is looking more towards full wets, because if it continues, there's no point going down the intermediate route unless you're Michael Schumacher or even a Ferrari, because we have seen, well, there's intermediates going on to the Arrows. They feel that that's the right tyre choice. In the case of Bridgestone, it probably is the right tyre choice. If you're a Michelin, you're going to be really caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for the Michelin runners.
Felipe Massa does it again, but he drives into the pit lane, spinning on the exit, coming out of left field.
I think he wants some different tyres on that car. Oh, Montoya's made a big mistake up at Abbey. This could allow Michael through, although Michael's not that close. It's so slippery up there now.
It's treacherous, absolutely treacherous. Montoya having to back off coming through bridge. Michael Schumacher also very, very tentative. It is going to be pandemonium in the pit lane as Williams and Ferrari. Look at Michael Schumacher. He can't even keep up with Montoya.
Look at Montoya. He's all over the place, trying to find some grip here, trying to go out wide. He's got to get it back to the pit lane safely. And the fans down there, they're lapping this up. Look at Michael Schumacher. Raikkonen attacking
through to
Schumacher.
second place.
The second position, Raikkonen. The Finn loves these conditions. Raikkonen, is he coming in? Raikkonen stayed out there, surely.
I'm not sure Raikkonen did the right thing. I'm not sure he was able to come in because Michael Schumacher was alongside him, but he might not have been, because he had passed Michael just said, well, he might have made a very, very late cut. In fact, they're all, how Raikkonen got into the pit lane is beyond me, but poor David Coulthard stuck out on track. Raikkonen managed to make, he must have driven across the grass at pit lane entrance to get in.
Yeah.
But they virtually, the first half of the field down to 8th place are in the pits,
Problems
with the exception of Coulthard.
What is happening? Right, McLaren are not ready. They've made a big mistake. David Coulthard is being left out there. Raikkonen has no wheels on his car.
Intermediates for Michael Schumacher, for Rubens Barrichello, and I suspect also for Michael Schumacher.
I would think so, yes. Intermediates on the Bridgestones are very, very effective. Ralf Schumacher into the pits as well now.
He's on full wets.
So he comes back out, and this is where the race may well swing back towards Ferrari big time, because we know how good these intermediate tyres are for the Bridgestone users. And now Michael Schumacher will try and hunt down. There is Raikkonen eventually getting out of the pit lane.
A catastrophic mistake on the part of McLaren. Either they didn't expect him to come in, or he'd been told not to come in like Coulthard. Coulthard was told, stay out. But how McLaren got it that wrong, I would like to hear an interview with Ron Dennis afterwards to explain that one away.
Well, we shall wait and see. But Coulthard is surviving at the moment, John. He hasn't thrown it off the road, which would be so easy in these conditions on his dry weather tyres. They might have grooves in them, but I tell you what, when it gets like this, they've got virtually no grip. And it's these guys now on wet tyres and intermediate tyres who have the opportunity.
But in fact, probably David Coulthard is leading this race, because
he's just been passed actually by Montoya.
Montoya now has retaken the lead. David Coulthard crawling his way around Priory into Brooklands, and then he'll be on the exit of Luffield into the pits. But McLaren, with the potential to really do something a bit special here this afternoon, seemingly have misjudged it completely.
Well, what a shame for Coulthard. Surely he'll be heading into the pits this time, and that is so demoralising for him. He allows Michael, no, he's going to risk it now. All he can do, I suppose, at this point is hope that it stops raining, stay on those tyres, and that's really the only way he can try and recover this situation.
Well, I've been in one of those situations a number of years ago, and my team boss was Bernie Ecclestone, strangely enough. He said, no, stay out, go on, it'll clear up. Well, it rained cats and dogs for the entire day, and it was a complete disaster. But today, with all the meteorology available, teams have got the capacity to know this is a massive punt on the part of McLaren.
Now, this was Ralph's stop. They had a problem as well, John. Look, they didn't have a wheel ready for the left front or right front, and that took him an age to get him out again.
I think it was a choice of whether they wanted to go. There's 2 grades of wet weather tyre available. As we see, look at this. Michael Schumacher just pinching, going down the pit lane, trying to save every tenth of a second he possibly can.
Well, so all the fun and games mean Montoya is our race leader. Michael Schumacher is second. Coulthard gamely hanging on to third. Barrichello is now catching Trulli for what is 4th place. So that's the next battle to watch out for. Of course, Barrichello always enjoys conditions like this. So although he started at the back, he's climbing up the order. Ralf Schumacher down in 7th place, and Raikkonen with his slow stop down in 8th.
Yeah, they're the 2 big losers. Partly because Ralf Schumacher, that right front, I think they didn't know which set of the 2 wet tyres to put on, and Raikkonen because their team appeared to be completely unaware of his entry into the pit lane as David Coulthard really, I mean, at this point there we see now Coulthard surely must come in. They've got a set of wet tyres, and okay, you take a chance, but you know the information available these days is much greater than in the past, and this call. Well, let's wait and see what happens after 60 laps. We're now 15 laps into this race, on the lap 16 of 60. And there you see Michael Schumacher on those Bridgestone intermediates, catching up the Michelin wet tyre upon Pablo Montoya. These conditions are not wet enough to allow a wet tyre to fully do its job. And this is where the Bridgestone intermediate is just an absolute mile, 3 seconds, over 3 seconds quicker on this lap than Juan Pablo Montoya.
Eventually, David Coulthard makes it into the pits, and those dry weather tyres have to come off, and they put on the wet weather tyres. Well, poor David Coulthard, it's just been a disaster for him. And now look at Michael Schumacher. Montoya will not be able to fend the Ferrari off here. Surely the grip levels are completely different between Ferrari and Williams, and it's just a question of where and how hard Montoya is going to fight for position. Michael giving him plenty of room, and in fact there Montoya going wide. Michael drives around the outside, thank you very much, and into the lead of the race.
Well, that just tyre superiority. Juan Pablo Montoya on the wet Michelin could not match by up to 3 seconds a lap the grip that Michael Schumacher is getting from those intermediate Bridgestones. And as I mentioned, the wet weather, it is wet out there. It is wet enough to run on wets, but that skimmy, scummy surface.
Look at this battle, though, that's going on here. This is a good, entertaining battle. Jenson Button under attack from Ralf Schumacher. Schumacher trying to go through, and I think he's made it. And in fact, Button's now got to watch out.
Raikkonen. Saulo, he's going to pull off. But Button really was put under the cosh with Ralf Schumacher, and that will benefit. So has Raikkonen got past? No, he's not.
Well, not quite yet, but Jenson Button had to give way to Ralf Schumacher there, and Ralf now goes up into 5th position as you see the water on the camera. Look at the rain still falling, and there was no chance that David Coulthard could stay out there. Jenson Button uses the wide line at Luffield. It's a line he learnt in Formula Ford and Formula 3, and it seems to be working at the moment, fending off the Finn Kimi Raikkonen.
In these conditions, you've got to seek out where the best grip on the corner is, and in a corner like Luffield, it might seem the wrong way on screen when you see Raikkonen's position of car, but it is the better way. It's where there's more grip. Here again, this is a replay of the pass for the lead. Montoya too deep into Abbey. Michael just sat back, waited, got the power on, drove past him, and I'm sure there's a wry smile on his face. Here's the overhead view. Montoya too close to the apex of the corner, can't get the speed off the car, runs out to the exit. Michael just comes along, says, thank you very much, job done. Raikkonen passes Button down the straight.
Yep, here we go. This is the Button, might break late. No, he doesn't. Has to give way to Raikkonen. Raikkonen very brave on the approach into Stowe Corner, and that brings Raikkonen up a place after that disastrous pit stop. He's back into 6th position now, but chasing after Ralf Schumacher. But Barrichello absolutely flying at the moment. Barrichello in the other Ferrari is 3rd, remember, and he was fastest on the last lap by about half a second over his teammate Michael Schumacher, but Barrichello is a full 14 seconds off his teammate.
But Ben, Barrichello is 5 seconds a lap faster than Juan Pablo Montoya. He's 11.8 seconds, so within 3 laps he will be ahead. By lap 20 we should think to see Rubens Barrichello running second to teammate Michael Schumacher. They're giving it 2 laps to get past, and that would be on lap 19. That's just starting 18, so 2 laps 20, that's about right.
Well, it just the tyre advantage that Ferrari have in these conditions is massive. And let's look at what the other Bridgestone users are doing, because of course it's allowed Frentzen to come up to 8th. Villeneuve is currently 9th. Take a look at the replay here.
Yes, easy peasy for Kimi Raikkonen, just pulls up, just that's horsepower. Renault cannot match the Mercedes-Benz. Jenson Button on this occasion said, look, I've got nothing, we're in the same tyres. So on this occasion I will not fight for it because I'm just being out-dragged in horsepower. And Button, now look at Raikkonen.
Button's coming under attack also from Frentzen now, as Raikkonen puts the challenge here on Ralf Schumacher, both on Michelin tyres, but Raikkonen absolutely superb in these conditions, and he is enjoying himself thoroughly here as he bears down on Ralf Schumacher.
Won't get the job done here into Stowe because the horsepower of the BMW outdoes that of Mercedes-Benz, and De La Rosa pulls over slightly slowly to let Michael go through, but I think poor De La Rosa is just keeping all his attention and concentration forwards. Now the chance down into Vale, get alongside. Whoa, it's so close. No. Well, I'll tell you, a real battle going on for 5th place. Now, got the inside, get the power on. Ralf Schumacher oversteer, you can see the back end of the car sliding out. Ralf has got the better line. Look at the horsepower difference, just pulls ahead. Raikkonen has to drop back in line.
Yes, but for how much longer? Because Raikkonen coming up to the twisty section of track, he knows so well from his British Formula Renault days. He wants to take this place, and he does. Raikkonen goes through at bridge. A stunning pass of Ralf Schumacher, and that brings Raikkonen up into 5th place.
A very, very courageous and committed pass from Raikkonen. Ralf thought he might get back because Raikkonen was slightly overshooting into Ferrari, but then he realises, no, I've got no more to do, I've got no more grip. Raikkonen is driving an inspired drive in conditions which are absolutely as bad as they can be.
But look at Frentzen, John. Frentzen on the Bridgestone tyres is passing Jenson Button, and this is for 7th place. Here comes the Arrows, the team that nearly didn't race at the British Grand Prix at all, and he's moving up into 7th place. Heinz-Harald Frentzen gets past Jenson Button, but Button's coming back at him on the exit of Copse Corner.
But I think he's lost some of the momentum. He's got to fall back in behind Frentzen. I mean, again, real good remove from Jenson Button in a high-speed corner like Copse, and well, he just was outgunned on horsepower up the hill from the Ford V10.
We've got a car off.
Oh, is that?
Taking a look as they come out.
That's one
of the Jags, coming out of Irvine.
Eddie Irvine. Well, but like any of the 2 Jaguar drivers here today, his hands are absolutely full.
He's on Michelin tyres, the tyre that's not working, remember here, so it's not to his advantage. Here comes Barrichello on Montoya. He's already caught the back of the Williams BMW, and look at Montoya, no grip at all. That wasn't just using a different line, his car is sliding around all over the place, and Barrichello just has to pick his moment really on the exit, and he should be able to go through.
He just goes past like he wasn't even there. Montoya scrabbling for the front end to get some grip. In the meantime, Barrichello just opens the throttle, the grip's there. Montoya has a bit of a look back, but he cannot compete to the levels of handling and grip that the Ferrari Bridgestone package has got.
Absolutely astonishing difference in tyre performance between Bridgestone and Michelin in these conditions. And Barrichello now makes it a Ferrari 1-2 after we have completed 19 laps out of 60. 1/3 distance coming up here at Silverstone, and what a Grand Prix we are enjoying. With changing conditions, it has really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen up to 7th place, now beginning to attack Ralf Schumacher. Here is David Coulthard. He runs down in 11th place after staying out on his dry weather tyres for so long, but he is coming up behind 10th placed Enrique Bernoldi.
And it's from now on, from lap 20 to about 25, where we would expect to see cars come in for a refueling, those that are doing 2 stops.
Take another look at Barrichello's pass of Juan Pablo Montoya. Well, it was just so easy.
Yes, it was. Montoya had no way. The car was drifting out to the left. Rubens Barrichello was able to anticipate it, knew what was happening, and just the level of grip. And this is a pure nightmare for Michelin. There's nothing in their range of tyres that compete with what Bridgestone have got. Remember, the intermediate Bridgestone, that's what's fitted to all the Bridgestone cars out there. That's why Heinz-Harald Frentzen is flying up to 7th place, just 0.9 of a second behind 6th place, and that's Ralf Schumacher.
Yeah, so the Arrow still running well, as Michael Schumacher has set a very fast lap there in these changing conditions. A 1:32.052, 1:32.2 from Barrichello. The 2 Ferraris are showing everybody how to do it. Their Bridgestone tyres perfect in these conditions, and it's also allowing Heinz-Harald Frentzen to make his attack on a point-scoring position. Here comes Frentzen then, and if he can get past Ralf Schumacher, he'll move into 6th place.
Well, this is going to be a tough time for Frentzen because he will not have the horsepower advantage he had over Jenson Button. Ralf Schumacher scrabbling for grip. Frentzen's got to get the job done here. alongside him out of Luffield before they get to Woodcote. Otherwise, he'll fall in line and wait until he. Well, this is the worst scenario for Frentzen. He's got a car capable of lapping probably a second to 2 seconds quicker than Ralf Schumacher, but he's being prevented because he hasn't got the performance on the part of track where he needs it most.
Still, the wily German will certainly try and find a spot here to get past.
There are two
Ralf.
Germans.
Yes, I know.
Which of them is a
I'm
wily
talking
one?
about the Frentzen at the moment. He's experienced, he knows this place well, and now looking for an opportunity to. Oh, he made a bit of a mistake there. And a
He's slowing
gear
down.
change.
He's a problem. He's out.
That was a gearbox problem, I think, John, as he just heard something strange on the gearbox. Can you believe it?
Say again, please. Car stopping.
That's an engine problem, I think.
Car stop.
Oh, what a disappointment.
Yeah, look at that. That's an engine problem, I'm sure. And it's just suddenly the lights started to go out. You could hear the engine going, "Grrr," and that looks, well, it's certainly around the back of the car, maybe prejudging it a little bit hastily.
Well, Frentzen, I mean, you have to feel for Arrows after all the trials and tribulations, literally trials, this week. They have seen their front man go out, and that means that Button comes back into 7th position. It moves Villeneuve up into 8th, Bernoldi 9th.
Yeah, so they've got one chance left. Bernoldi again on the Bridgestone tyre, identical to Frentzen, in 9th place on lap 22. Still a long way to go, and we have yet to see who's going to make the two-stop strategy. Weather teams had very accurate weather forecasts and all opted to go for a one-stopper, which of course is entirely possible.
Possibly, yes. Normally we'd see two stoppers come into the pits around this part of the race. There's Montoya still running in 3rd place. He's some 28 seconds ahead of Kimi Räikkönen. Räikkönen running 4th, Trulli in 5th, and this is the battle between Räikkönen and Trulli just a moment ago, and this was where Räikkönen went ahead of the Renault. So Kimi Räikkönen still on the charge. He has now moved ahead of Jarno Trulli as well. So Räikkönen up to 4th place. Brilliant stuff from the Finn. Trulli back down, and we're watching David Coulthard, who's under pressure from Olivier Panis on the Bridgestones. Panis, Coulthard on the Michelins, and it's a struggle to keep the BAR behind.
But Ben, down in pit lane, the Williams team are working. They've got sets of tyres mounted on one of those racks, and they're being prepared. And we don't know whether when they take the covers off it will be a set of new slicks, or whether it's going to be something that will be. Well, I don't think we're going to put him out on the Michelin Intermediate. It's either going to be a full wet or a full dry.
Taking another look just over that rear wing as Olivier Panis tries to get down into Stowe that little quicker than David Coulthard. Another one to watch is Villeneuve. Villeneuve has got past Jenson Button. I was just going to say he's right behind him. Well, he's just got past. So Jacques Villeneuve on the Bridgestone tyres. The BAR team have not scored any points this year, but that puts him into 7th place.
Yes, a strong driver. An opportunity for BAR, for many of the teams that have been struggling to get into the points. Races like this really mix and match. And of course, it is truly a race about tyres more than anything else here this afternoon. The Bridgestone runners benefiting from that Bridgestone intermediate tyre. Jacques Villeneuve has benefited from it. He just got past Jenson Button, has moved into 7th place. Ralf Schumacher is probably about 3.5 to 4 seconds ahead. And this, looking back, Olivier Panis and David Coulthard, they're battling over 10th place. Coulthard, of course, stayed out a lap longer.
Look,
Felipe Massa slides through the pair.
Well, great stuff. Massa really opportunistic there. Panis got a bit held up by Coulthard, backed off, and Massa said, right, I'm coming through. He's also on the Bridgestones, but I wonder how long Massa will last. We've seen him spin several times already today, but he's still in the battle. He's still 11th.
And he also knows how slippery the track is. He's had 2 offs in the first lap, now back in control, battling for that position. 10th place, Coulthard holds, now Massa 11th. Panis slightly outmaneuvered by Massa into 12th place. Again, the rain heavy up at Beckett's, a lot less so around the front of the circuit.
Well, this is an enjoyable Grand Prix for us, and it's also, I'm sure, enjoyable for the drivers despite the conditions. The rain not that heavy that they're getting a lot of spray, which is the worst aspect of racing in the rain. Just this light rain leaving visibility good, a tricky track surface, and the opportunity to display some driving skills here. Despite all the traction control and driver aids, it's all about balance and control. And look at Massa.
Look at Massa, just drives around the outside of David Coulthard as if he wasn't there. And now Olivier Panis is ruining the fact that he allowed Massa to get through 1 lap earlier, and he's still caught behind David Coulthard. Look, Heidfeld now has gone past Olivier Panis as well. Both Saubers on their Bridgestones on their march forward.
Yeah, but Olivier's got to wake up. He's on the Bridgestones as well, and he's just letting them go past. and he's in the battle, but that's bad news for him. And as he has a little look again, and look, he's been closed up from behind by Fisichella. Fisichella's right behind them as well in the yellow Jordan. So as Coulthard holds up this group, there goes Heidfeld, gets past Coulthard. Panis now, Coulthard comes into the pits as Fisichella goes through as well.
And this has got to be, they must put a set of drives back on David Coulthard. They got it wrong when the rain came. They've got to get it right this time. They're going to take another gamble. David Coulthard coming in was in 10th, dropped down to 11th.
They weren't ready for
Watch
him,
that
John.
slippery concrete. Well,
they weren't ready. They weren't expecting him in at all.
This is unbelievable. I've never seen something. I mean, had the radios gone down, there's a new communication between driver. There we see a set of dry weather tyres on. Those are the Groove slick tyres, brand new set. Now the fuel going in, and this has just turned into a disaster. And the fuel hose didn't connect because they had to.
Still waiting for that
what
front
is
tyre.
going on here today? This is, I mean, people pay to see a pantomime. They don't come to see it at a Grand Prix.
Well, it is a great surprise, and it's not often that we've seen McLaren put in a performance like this. It is being held up a little bit by Kimi Raikkonen, though. The Raikkonen starring in the other car, running in 4th place behind the Ferraris and Montoya. Now, well, it really is an eye-opener, this one, as we've completed 24 out of 60 laps. Still return to this battle that's going on here. And Michael Schumacher, of course, is our race leader, but the battle that's going on, he's involved in now because he's lapping this group. There is Olivier Panis, he's just about to slip past him. Nick Heidfeld next, Raikkonen is in.
Yes, but also down at Stowe, Irvine has stopped or has gone off. There's a yellow flag situation, and again, what is going on? Is there no communication? Raikkonen has gone out and has said, there's Irvine's car. Irvine has stopped. We don't know whether that was a spin or whether he pulled off. He's on the right-hand side on the exit of Stowe. I presume he may well have pulled off. So now Renault preparing. So all the Michelin tired cars deciding that the conditions are just about drivable. David Coulthard off at club, gets back on the track again. And oh my goodness, I've never ever seen a race or a drive from any McLaren driver like this. Let's look at it again. Comes out of Stowe.
Well, this is Irvine first.
Sorry, this is Irvine. And a big spin in Irvine. And the car comes to a halt. Yes, so Irvine, I think he did hit the wall on the inside. So did a bit of crash testing. There's David Coulthard. This is the replay. When he went off down at Vale, getting back on at Club Corner, he obviously didn't even make Vale. He just went straight on. Remember, Coulthard straight out of the pits on a set of Groove slick tyres.
Yeah, and Raikkonen has done the same. Now, it's either a good move or a bad move for Kimi Raikkonen. We saw how quick he was earlier on when it was damp and he was on the Groove tyre. Coulthard, how can he now focus? How can he keep up the motivation after a race of one disaster after another? The Renault pit do look ready, at least for whoever's going to come in. Trulli running 7th, Button currently in 8th place, and they're getting ready for him to come into the pits. Trulli just making his way around the complex at the moment, in fact, and you can see a whole bunch of cars there.
It's very busy. There's a McLaren in that somewhere. That's a Renault patch, so Renaults and Saubers, Benoldi and the Arrows, and there we see the second of the Renaults as Michael Schumacher comes through and now is lapped.
Yeah, it's Trulli coming in, yes. I think, John. It's Trulli, Jarno Trulli's coming in. Jenson Button has... Button has come in as well.
Both Renaults in.
So Button has decided to come in as well, or the team has decided to bring him in, and he's going to have to sit and wait, presumably, behind his teammate as they put tyres on. So here we go. Jarno Trulli will be attended to first, and sometimes, despite sitting in the pit lane, this can be the quickest way, because if you time it right when you go on to dry weather tyres, you can still gain the time lost.
We saw Ferrari do this in Malaysia when they won with that intermediate tyre, when there was total chaos when both Ferraris came in, and Michael Schumacher was second and he had to wait out, yet they came first and second in that Grand Prix. And now Button goes out of the pit lane as Trulli leaves onto the circuit.
That was a good effort from Renault. They did well there. Let's ride with Montoya a moment. He's still on his wet tyres, remember, and I wonder if he's going to be coming in soon. Well, it does look as though the Williams pit is ready for him. Massa versus Benoldi. Yeah, this is the battle that's going on at the moment, and Massa in 7th place now, would you believe, with all these pit stops being made as Michael Schumacher tries to find his way through safely.
And Enrique Benoldi, I think, really was slightly unexpected to see Michael Schumacher all over him, maybe lost him in his mirrors. As we look at Williams there, we see the set of tyres. That may well be a set of tyres that he ran in the first few laps of this race. He may well have liked that set of tyres. Montoya comes out of Club Corner looking for grip. Not very much of it available with the Michelin wet. as race leader Michael Schumacher comes across start-finish line for the 27th time. 3 laps now before we get to half distance.
He has a 10-second advantage over Rubens Barrichello.
But Barrichello's lapping 3.2 seconds a lap faster than Michael Schumacher.
But then Michael, I think, in the traffic, I think that's where he's been losing time over the last lap or two, fighting his way through these guys who are battling for position. Bernoldi has come into the pits, by the way, as Schumacher continues around, and Montoya so far is still out there, and rain is falling again. Look, there's more rain falling, so Montoya has not come in yet. He has decided to stay out, and the Williams pit were ready to receive him, but now they've decided to leave him out there for the moment with this change in conditions.
Well, what a race. I mean, no one could ever have anticipated a day like this. It's been just seat of your pants excitement. Bernoldi having just come out of the pits, and he may well have gone onto a set of slicks. Hopefully the team are quick enough to redress that situation as Montoya. So it looks like Renault and McLaren could be the big losers, and it's teams like BAR, Sauber, Jordan now into the top 10 for the first time with Fisichella, and Bernoldi in 10th place after that pit stop.
Well, these changing conditions, so hard to read. It reminds me of Johnny Herbert's win at the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring some years ago. Just so hard to read. He decided to stay out there, and Michael Schumacher, of course, he hasn't changed onto dry weather tyres either. He's still on his intermediates, the rain falling,
but Ben,
that suits him.
That right rear intermediate looks to me as bold. You can see there's virtually no tread left on it at all, so I'm not sure how much longer Michael Schumacher can stay out with those tyres. They look to me that...
But indeed, he's still lapping quickly.
He's still lapping. He's lapping 131 that last lap. Barrichello down to a 32 again. The ebb and flow of traffic, but it's something just to keep an eye on the rear tyre wear on the intermediate Bridgestone on Ferrari.
Must point out, Villeneuve is into the points in the BAR Honda. He's 5th at the moment ahead of Felipe Massa. Despite all those spins, Massa is now in 6th place ahead of his teammate Heidfeld. Panis back down to 8th, then it's Fisichella. Now Kimi Raikkonen is the first of the runners who are on dry weather tyres. What sort of lap times Raikkonen doing? He did a 1:35.2 last time around, and that's about 3 seconds slower than the Ferraris up front.
Barrichello now, whoa, David
David.
Coulthard's all gone wrong, and that's on the exit of Bridge Corner, and David is going to be, I think that's it all over for David Coulthard. He hit that corner marker sign. No, he's got it going again, but he will probably drive straight back into the pits. Remember, on those groove slick tyres, David Coulthard. What a oh, look at the rain. Well, there's no wonder. The rain is lashing it down, and this is only just directly behind the pits. Coulthard comes through Bridge. Watch the exit. The car just goes into a big loop. Oh, he just runs off. No grip at all. Bangs into that polystyrene corner marker. Well, fortunately, no damage. Those polystyrene markers are there deliberately. Here's the on-view. Oh, David, I'm going to hit it. Oh, I tell you, what a ride, what a nightmare for the Scotsman today.
Ralf Schumacher got past him safely. Ralph still running in 4th, but Jenson Button has been back into the pits and has switched back onto wet weather tyres. McLaren are getting ready to receive presumably Kimi Raikkonen or David Coulthard. And
but Coulthard has continued on. He hasn't come in. And Coulthard has gone on. I would have thought after that incident he may well have gone straight back into the pits, but he stayed out, just completing another lap.
Well,
there he is.
He is still there. I don't know what they're up to today, John. I have no idea. But here comes Raikkonen, and he's the main loser, really, in all of this, because he's been driving out of his skin today, but with the rain coming down again, they have to put him back onto wet, and all that time lost. Well, I tell you what, they're putting fuel in as well. We'll watch this over the next few laps, because Raikkonen fired up, superb in these conditions, but can he do anything on those Michelin wets?
Well, I think McLaren and Renault basically were forced into a situation. They were losing out massively by staying out on the wet tyre to the Bridgestone intermediate. They thought that weather maybe had settled down, the rain was stopped sufficiently to take the risk, go back out in a set of groove slicks, and little after a lap or so did they do it. Then all of a sudden down comes the rain again. But look at Michael, that rear tyre wear is beginning to tell. He's having to struggle with the car as he came out of Abbey.
Well, look at this. We're seeing the Michelin intermediates and Massa there having another spin. So Massa, after all that hard work, now I'm not sure how many places he lost as he came around there.
He was in 6th place.
Comes Jarno Trulli, and they presumably are going to put him onto wet. But interesting to see McLaren are going to try the Michelin intermediates.
So a set of wets goes back on. So full set of wets for Jarno Trulli. We did see that set of Michelin intermediates being prepared. Let's see, Felipe Massa comes out. Oh, very, very too keen to get past David Coulthard. and spun the car around just where Michael Schumacher did in the. I mean, how many times has Felipe Massa? I think it's 3 at least, if not 4. Coulthard in once again.
Well, of course, he got held up by Coulthard. Coulthard was struggling around on his dry weather tyres.
Yeah, but Massa should have anticipated that. He should have seen how slow Coulthard was, and he could see what tyres he's on as well. Drivers can tell, even at that speed, whether you're on a wet or a groove slick tyre.
Get this feeling here, McLaren are experimenting with David just to see whether these intermediate tyres are going to offer them anything better than they've got currently with the wets on Kimi Raikkonen's car. Michael Schumacher on the intermediate Bridgestone, storming away. Half distance completed in the British Grand Prix. The last time he won at Silverstone it was wet, and he's doing it again here.
Summer Bernoldi is off down at Vale Club. We haven't seen it on screen, but that's where that light yellow flag station is. So Enrique Bernoldi looks like he's going to be yet another retirement in this afternoon's Grand Prix. Frentzen went out some laps earlier. It looked like an engine failure. Bernoldi, we don't know whether it was just simply a spin. It could have been. We'll wait to see whether Bernoldi comes through. Well, he stopped, in fact, on our timing and scoring screen.
Although it's getting wetter, I don't think it's still wet enough for the Michelin wet to come back into its own. It's still the intermediate tyre that has the advantage. There's more drama going on at Sauber as we wait to see what they are doing. Looks like they've changed their decision on which tyres to run on the Sauber, and presumably Heidfeld and Massa both running, and there is Bernoldi out, as you said, John, down at the bottom part of the track, getting a good reception. But it's the end of the race for both Arrows, I'm afraid, after a very strong performance, particularly from Heinz, Harold Frentzen, and after their difficulties this week, well, they will continue over the next few weeks, I'm sure, the financial difficulties. Sadly, both cars are out of the Grand Prix.
Let's see what happened to Bernoldi. Well, it's slowing down, and that's a mechanical or electrical problem. Again, down in Vale, barely can get the car around. He wants to pull it off as quickly as possible. And we see the intermediates, another set of intermediates going on to Felipe Massa. He's eating these tyres up, but no wonder the way the kid's driving. I mean, he doesn't know it's wet, he just knows it doesn't feel quite as good as it does in the dry.
He still goes for it. I tell you what this allows a little bit is for Montoya. Well, no, Montoya's still losing ground to the Ferraris in third place. The two Williams are running third and fourth, remember. Look at Villeneuve here. Villeneuve now fifth. As we said, he's up into the points and off.
Jordan
goes one of the
Jordans. Is that Fisichella or
Sato, I think.
Is it
running wide? Yes, he had a little bit of a moment in the earlier part of the complex.
Yep.
And
Renault.
Trulli, it's Trulli. Jarno Trulli's gone off
of Copse.
So Jarno Trulli, who was running inside the top six, and that's
Michael Schumacher booing at Barrichello. Saw the back. So Rubens has spun. Has he kept the engine running? Yes, he has. That was at the exit of Abbey. So all over the circuit. All over the circuit with Jordans, Renaults and now Ferrari.
But he keeps second place, John, because he's way ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya, so no problem for maintaining second. Another set of wets goes on board with Ralf Schumacher, and it's a cleaner stop for him this time. Or is it?
Again, no fuel was put in the fuel. The connector won't connect, so a problem. They have to take the spare, the reserve. So again, Ferrari preparing for by the Rubens Barrichello. Now we see this still the fueler cannot get it to connect. He was just, I think, under pressure.
It's still not working.
No, there's no fuel going in.
It engaged that time. It wasn't engaging. It engaged that time, but there's still no fuel flow.
They have to put him back out again, Ben, because if they let him sit there, the engine temperature will build up. So this is, I've never seen a Grand Prix. We were giving McLaren a hard time. Now Williams are joining into the stage act as well.
Well, it is just all going on here. Where do we look next? This was the replay of Barrichello, a mistake on his own in the slippery conditions. Just a momentary loss of concentration. Barrichello spinning, but maintaining second position.
And that takes pressure off Michael Schumacher now. 21.6 second gap between first and second place. Barrichello paying the price, the 10-second penalty for the spin here, as Michael Schumacher comes through the exit of Abbey and then drops downhill under the bridge, through Bridge Corner. David Coulthard, the remnants of that Polystyrene corner marker. And Michael Schumacher now dropping the lap times to 1 minute 40.1, but still lapping on average 2 to 2.5 seconds a lap faster than the rest of the field.
He has a massive advantage, and he's still got to make his pit stop for fuel, remember, over half distance now. Is he coming in? Yes, he is. So this will be his one and only pit stop, although that doesn't allow for a change in conditions again, of course. Let's see, they'll presumably put him back onto a new set of intermediates. Try and get a look at the tyres as he comes in.
It is a new set of intermediates. He's coming in. This is lap 33. He came in at the end of 32, just gone across the line, clicking up. So he will go back out on the 33rd lap.
And that's how it should be done.
Long. That was a very short stop.
That's how it should be done. Ferrari, as ever, a superb stop. And despite the comedy of errors that's going on in the pit lane, for Ferrari, everything goes perfectly according to plan. Now, Barrichello's had his dramas today. He started from the back, fought his way up to second position, has had a spin, survives in second for the moment, comes in for his stop, goes back out on new intermediates, and now we watch Montoya, who runs in third place, a very comfortable third, but Villeneuve now up to fourth because Ralf Schumacher has made his stop. So Villeneuve, we're still waiting to see make his fueling stop, I think. Villeneuve fourth, Heidfeld fifth, Panis in sixth place currently.
But of course Ralf Schumacher didn't get any fuel on board, so he's going to have to come back in again. But Villeneuve and VAR for one Grand Prix have really had a good day here so far.
Looks like the rain has stopped falling for the moment, drying out once again a little bit, and it's once again the perfect conditions for the Bridgestone intermediate tyre users. Montoya is coming under a bit of pressure from Raikkonen, who is behind him here, but Raikkonen is a lap down in 10th place after all the dramas that McLaren have suffered. Now, Montoya, I don't know whether he's going to fight for this position or not. He doesn't need to, but of course he might not realise that fully at this stage, even if he's getting the word on the radio.
Well, Barrichello just clipped the curb. You saw the back of the Ferrari step out. Now De La Rosa going to get the blue light in the car, the blue flag on the circuit, and Williams have still got to rectify that problem with their fuel rigs. I don't know what went wrong. This is something that's occurred on a number of occasions this year, affecting Williams also earlier in the season. But again, now the rain appears to either eased off or stopped, then Ferrari are going to have to consider how long they can go on these intermediate tyres, because once the track begins to dry, the rubber compound of that intermediate tyre is going to come under severe pressure, and Ferrari may have to make another rapid pit stop to think about going on to a set of completely dry weather groove tyres.
Yes, but they do have a big advantage in terms of time at the moment. Michael Schumacher, a very healthy lead, 22 seconds last time around over Rubens Barrichello, and then Montoya some way further behind that. Jacques Villeneuve running fourth, fifth place for Heidfeld, sixth place for Panis, then Fisichella, Ralf Schumacher, Felipe Massa and Kimi Raikkonen. And Raikkonen, of course, remember, is a lap down on Montoya, still behind Montoya on the track at this point.
So throughout the field, I mean, it's all confusion. Thank goodness we've got electronic lapping and scoring, because it has been a race of in and out of pits, spins, errors in driving. Michael Schumacher coming up now through the tail, and Olivier Panis is in sixth place, about to go a lap down. Panis will want to give way, but only in a place where it's convenient, and he just runs slightly wide into Brooklands, lets Michael take the racing line. Didn't lose any time in relation to his overall battle with Nick Heidfeld, because Heidfeld will now then become subject to the same requirements from race leader Michael Schumacher. What Panis needs to do is tuck in as much as possible behind the Ferrari and try and swoop through Heidfeld when that opportunity arises for Michael Schumacher.
Yes, indeed, and just taking a look inside the Williams pit here a moment ago, they've been struggling to sort out this refueling rig, and they're checking it there, trying to make sure that the fuel is flowing correctly. But what frustration for them. Here we are on board with Juan Pablo Montoya as he heads around Luffield Corner, still slipping and sliding his way around, some 7.7 seconds behind Barrichello, with Barrichello having made that stop recently, but presumably Montoya will have to stop as well soon.
Well, Montoya made a mistake on that last lap. He did a 38. Now that lap we've just seen go across start finish line, back down to a normal pace of a 1:34.5, and that is just under 3 seconds a lap slower than race leader, or in fact for Rubens Barrichello, who's actually quicker on that last lap than Michael was.
Well, we sort of have an opportunity to just draw breath for a second in a race that has been so frantic throughout. We have now completed 35 out of 60 laps. And Montoya continues on his way. Third place for him at the moment. Both BAR Hondas are in the points. They have not scored any points so far this year. But Villeneuve runs fourth and Olivier Panis runs in sixth. What a story that would be if they can hold on to it. And here you are riding on board with Villeneuve. And it's not a battle for, sorry, Panis.
Olivier Panis
that's
and Heidfeld,
behind
yes.
Heidfeld. This is a battle for what is fifth position.
So this is a battle. The two BARs currently in the top six. Villeneuve in fourth place, Panis in sixth. And Nick Heidfeld feeling a lot of pressure from Olivier Panis And Panis needs to be careful because Heidfeld will not want to concede 2 points in 5th place any way other than the hardest fight possible.
Williams getting ready to make another pit stop. Now, is this the recovery pit stop for Ralph, or is this the refueling pit stop for Juan Pablo? We would imagine it's Montoya.
It's got to be Montoya. They've got to get Montoya in and out because he is their best opportunity. Montoya swings wide out of Luffield. Will he cut into the pit lane?
No, he doesn't.
And De La Rosa again just swings slightly ahead of him.
It is indeed Ralph who's coming into the pit lane as we speak. And there we are. This is the refueling for Ralph after it went so disastrously wrong last time. This continues to drop him down. They are putting dry weather tyres on. Bit of an experiment here for the Williams team, and this will help them decide when to bring Montoya in.
And also, of course, it gives everybody an opportunity. As you see, there's a car on the outside of the corner as we came out of club, and Panis and
Button was running wide.
Was Jenson Button indeed.
Yeah, he's down in 12th place now, Jenson Button. Of course, Trulli is out of the race entirely. Here comes Panis again, right behind the Sauber of Nick Heidfeld, and this the battle for 5th place. But Panis, who hasn't really had a good run at Silverstone for many, many years, he's only once been in the points here before. No points so far this season. What an opportunity this is for him.
And just ahead is Giancarlo Fisichella. Well, it's certainly a Jordan, I think it's Fisichella.
Yes, well, Fisichella actually running behind them on the road.
Yeah, so looking at the other screen, it's in fact the car that we saw was Michael Schumacher, but there is a Jordan somewhere amongst all this bunch of cars.
Yes,
and
just caught
Olivier
glimpse.
Panis just trying again to use whatever advantages the BAR has, but the Sauber's a pretty good car. Heidfeld well fired up.
Yes, let's see what Panis can do. He's attacking, pushing Heidfeld all the way. This is the battle for the points, and this is such a great opportunity for BAR Honda. Now look at this, Heidfeld using a bit of the wet track there, John, just trying to cool the tyres a bit.
Yeah, and I think Panis was doing the same thing on the right-hand side of the track, coming down just to stay on the slightly damper line before they get into the braking areas, just to ensure that the loads that they're now building up into these intermediate tyres are not going to be so much that they end up running out of tread altogether and therefore lose grip.
There you can see them sliding around as they come through Club Corner. Despite the traction control, there's a lot of steering effort going in. Again, Heidfeld using the wet part of the track, trying to keep those tyres as cool as possible up through Abbey Corner. And still this battle for 5th place continues. Now, interesting to see that Ralf Schumacher, who is on dry weather tyres, has just set some good competitive sector times as he's come out of the pits in the Williams. And that could mean, John, we'll see a few more coming into the pits for dry weather tyres soon.
Yes, and everybody in the pit lane will be watching Ralf Schumacher just to see what kind of times and how long it does take him to get down to comparable intermediate tyre times, and that's not very far away. And just for the Arrows fans, just views from the pit lane from Tom Walkinshaw that they both suffered engine problems. That's what saw both Arrows retire, and a great disappointment because their car, particularly Frenson's, was very, very quick this afternoon.
So, on board with Panis. Let's just watch a second here. And as we watch, we see Jenson Button coming in and David Coulthard in for McLaren. Can they finally get a pit stop that's clean and untroubled? Still waiting to see him come out.
Wing on for Jenson Button, fending adjustment on the Renault.
Stalled now.
Oh no, it cannot get bad. And no, it can get worse. Jenson Button leaves the pit lane. David Coulthard, the fuel again, this problem of refueling. I don't know why we've seen so much problem from two of the best teams in the pit lane.
It's just going wrong every single time. Finally, he gets the tyres on, and Coulthard is now heading out of the pit lane. Jenson Button has rejoined ahead. Here comes Raikkonen, taking his wet tyres off and putting the dries on. What can he do in the remainder of this race? He's out of the points at the moment, of course, after what turned out to be a badly timed pit stop earlier on for dry weather tyres.
So let's look at Raikkonen. This is on, remember, a set of wet Michelin coming down into Vale. Well, just simply it didn't get the car slowed down enough, able to drive across the grass. The lawn down at Vale sufficiently smooth, then back onto the exit of Club Corner. And this battle still with Heidfeld and Olivier Panis. And they're closer, and Heidfeld decides it's time to call off. Good strategy by, I think, Sauber. Get him in when these track conditions are in the transitional phase. Get in, get a set of slicks on, or a set of groove slicks on. But they've got to bring Panis in the next time around. He's got an opportunity in this lap to get up to his natural speed. He was being held up, but look at the tyre wear. Those intermediates almost completely worn out in the inside shoulders on the front.
Yes, but this has worked well because they can go straight onto dry weather tyres. And the question is, of course, John, will Ferrari decide that they have to now switch from those intermediates soon onto dry weather tyres? Montoya is going quickly now. Montoya's just done a 1 minute 30.511. So that's a good lap from the Colombian, running in third place.
And he's 26 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. So this race is going to become a proper Grand Prix, if it hasn't been that already, in the latter part of this event. Nick Heidfeld very tentative as he goes out on that set of groove slicks for the first lap, feeling the circuit, feeling where the grip is. Ferrari now preparing for one of their two cars. We'll wait to see whether it's Michael Schumacher coming in first or will it be Rubens Barrichello.
Yes, that is time for them to change onto slicks. This was the modification that was going on to the McLaren fueling rig after they suffered yet more problems. Both Williams and McLaren have suffered today.
You know, every team in the pit lane practice this thing. They do it Sunday mornings.
Them to change onto slicks. This was the modification that was going on to the McLaren fueling rig after they suffered yet more problems. Both Williams and McLaren have suffered today.
You know, every team in the pit lane practice this thing. They do it Sunday mornings before the morning warm-up. They spent many days practicing wherever possible. So Michael Schumacher coming around Luffield, is he going to be the Ferrari that comes in?
And Villeneuve's in as well, John. So Jacques
No,
Villeneuve.
he goes past, he doesn't come in.
I think that's, yeah, just taking a look. That's Panis going past, actually, so Villeneuve is in.
Yes.
Jacques comes in and Panis continues, so the two BAR Hondas still in with a chance here of getting some points, going on to dry weather tyres. Looks like their refuelling rig did work okay.
Yes, and there one of the Jordans also in the pit lane, Giancarlo Fisichella. Fisichella now came in 6th place. Villeneuve was 4th. So pit lane, look at this. Rubens Barrichello and Montoya come in line astern, 2nd and 3rd in the Grand Prix. Barrichello comes to a stop. Montoya further down the pit lane comes to a stop.
This is the battle for 2nd place in the British Grand Prix. Can the Williams team get Montoya out quickly enough for him to be able to challenge Barrichello in the remaining laps in this race? The fuel hose did work and Montoya slips and slides his way out.
9.2 seconds for Montoya, 6.4 for Barrichello.
But of course Barrichello had his refueling done already. It was purely a tyre change for Barrichello, whereas Montoya needed to refuel. So that explains the slight difference in time. But it does give Montoya a chance to go chasing after him. It just depends whether the Williams is up to the task.
Well, I think in these conditions the Bridgestone groove slick is going to be the tyre that's got the initial advantage. As we just got a glimpse of Montoya going through Beckett, we go back to Michael Schumacher. And Ferrari, are they preparing for him yet? Well, certainly there's work going on within the Ferrari garage. The Barrichello has been in and out 3 times this afternoon. Michael Schumacher has only been in and out twice, but one more to go.
Ralf Schumacher fastest on track last time around on his dry weather tyres. He did a 1:29.1. He's currently running down in 9th place, so we're going to see a big improvement in lap times coming now over these next 2 laps, and surely that means they will have Michael Schumacher in to put him onto dry weather tyres. Here comes Olivier Panis now for his dries as Villeneuve continues round. He's 5th. This will bring Villeneuve back up into 4th place again.
So we have to see how, when Panis comes out, the battle that he had with Nick Heidfeld. Heidfeld showing in 8th place. Oh, look at this.
That's the battle for 2nd.
Pass.
Montoya takes Barrichello for 2nd place, and what a good outlap that was from Montoya. He's been able to challenge the Ferrari, and he's been able to get past.
And that must be a surprise for Rubens Barrichello, because on that set of Bridgestone tyres in these conditions, I watch Barrichello coming back.
This is
He's
great
right under the rear wing. He's right under the rear wing. Can he have a go down the outside? It's the wrong part of track. And Montoya maintains the racing line, but Barrichello might shoot up the inside. No, he's lost the momentum on the exit of the corner.
Well, it's a good battle between 2 mates. These 2 are quite close. In fact, I think Barrichello pretty much Montoya's only mate in Formula 1. They get on very well, but they're racing hard here, and Montoya's taken him. He's got 2nd place, and Barrichello perhaps not quite as happy with the car in these conditions now as the Williams goes charging away, but they're a long way behind Michael Schumacher, about 50 seconds behind. This was the move.
Yes, probably a very unexpected move for Barrichello, because Montoya took a punt down there. Let's look at it again. No way. Well, Barrichello much slower on the exit of bridge. Montoya sticks the Williams down the inside. Job done. Thank you very much. Then Barrichello comes back, coming across start-finish line. Montoya moves to the right to block in. He moved down the inside. Look at the stuff on the. Look at the rubbish on the track being blown up in the air.
Yeah, well, Montoya made his one move across, which he's permitted to do, and Patrick Head keeps a close eye on proceedings as Montoya looks at scoring points here at Silverstone after a series of non-finishes in recent races. But the task of beating Michael Schumacher may well be beyond him, because Schumacher has such a comfortable lead at this stage in the race. So 129 last time around from Michael Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello still following the Williams BMW of Juan Pablo Montoya. Now the Ferrari team getting ready, so we are getting prepared now for Michael Schumacher's change onto dry weather tyres. We saw that it was only just over 6 seconds at a stationary for Barrichello. Should be about the same for Michael Schumacher, and he'll be able to comfortably maintain the advantage in this race, but his 48-second lead will be reduced.
Well, we would anticipate from the point when he leaves the circuit into the pit lane, comes in 80 k's per hour, stops, refueled, tired, back out, across the line at the end of the pit lane, you're looking at about adding 25 seconds to a lap. So this lap's going to be somewhere around about the 153, 154.
So comes in on the speed limiter.
So that he should be about 20-25 seconds advantage when he returns to the track and completes what will be lap 44.
Those very worn intermediates coming off there. We didn't get quite a glimpse, but they look pretty bold to me as he comes back out. Yeah, just a tyre change again. He had enough fuel on board already, so no problems there. And Montoya comes through Bridge Corner. That's the advantage that Michael Schumacher has. They won't be anywhere near onto this straight as Michael Schumacher exits the pit lane. So a very comfortable advantage still for the Ferrari driver.
And the Williams and Ferrari, Montoya and Barrichello just coming through Luffield as Michael goes through Beckett. So, well, the gap clearly has been reduced. Whether it's under the 20 seconds or above it, we will wait and see one more lap. Look at Barrichello right again under the rear wing. Barrichello now having had that exploratory lap in which he lost second place, gaining the confidence, getting the feel for the Ferrari in these conditions, and beginning to offer a challenge once again to second place on Montoya.
Well, maybe we had the reverse situation. Maybe the Bridgestone tyre was harder work when it was cold, and now it's up to temperature, it's working better. You're looking at Ralf Schumacher. He's down in 8th place. He is a lap behind these guys effectively, or he will be. He's already a lap behind Michael Schumacher as these two come through in 2nd and 3rd. Villeneuve is still in 4th place. Panis is 5th. The two BAR Hondas looking to score their first points of the year. What a story that would be. Heidfeld is 6th. Fisichella is 3.8 seconds behind Heidfeld in the Jordan, running in 7th place. So Fisichella still in with a chance of scoring points. Ralf Schumacher 8th, Felipe Massa 9th, Raikkonen, who's been up and down like a yo-yo in this race, currently running in 10th place, 127.3 last time around for Kimi Raikkonen. Sato's still running, he's in 11th place, then Jenson Button is 12th, Coulthard, despite all his problems, is still running, he's in 13th place, and our last runner, 14th place, Pedro de la Rosa.
Okay, Michael Schumacher comes across the line for the 44th time. We wait for Juan Pablo Montoya and Rubens Barrichello to come across. I anticipate the gap to be probably about 20-22 seconds in favour of Michael Schumacher. But look at Schumacher just once, back out on track, immediately up to speed, just the confidence that he has and just his ability, that cat-like skill he has in these very difficult conditions has always marked him out to be something very special.
Just watch him into
14 and a half seconds.
14 and a half seconds.
14 and a half seconds. Well, that's a bit of a wake-up call, Michael, if you ever wanted it. You cannot afford to relax. Not that in the remaining laps, you're on lap 45, 15 to go. And that will be a tough call if Michael finds himself with any kind of problem. We've seen that happen in Canadian Grand Prix, but Silverstone is not hard on brakes. It's a mechanically fairly gentle circuit for the Grand Prix car.
So Michael Schumacher does still have a race on, but he has a very comfortable advantage. 14 seconds still should be enough, particularly looking at the pace of Barrichello in recent laps, who's really been looking, if anything, slightly faster than Montoya, although Montoya it is who holds second position at the moment. Ferrari have certainly been in a race. What we have to remember, John, is that Michael and Barrichello have made 3 stops this afternoon compared to 2 stops for Montoya. Williams did a good job today timing the pit stops on the tyre choice, and that has enabled them to stay in the hunt here. But as Michael goes over the line at 125.7, that's 0.3 of a second faster than Montoya did last time around. We'll wait to see what the Colombian can achieve this time. You can see the countdown. It was 14.4. It's up to 15.0 now, and here comes Barrichello again, filling the mirrors of the Williams BMW.
Yeah, I think what Williams have got to think about is not really going for victory here. They've got to think about consolidation for second place. 6 points in the championship. They need those championship points. And of course, what they do not want is another Ferrari 1-2. And with Ralf Schumacher down in 8th place, he's 4.3 seconds behind Fisichella, and he's actually not even lapping as quickly as Fisichella. So Ralph's out of the equation. Looks like he's decided mentally he's out of the race. Montoya with the race on his hands, with Rubens Barrichello looking every way possible to find a way past the Williams BMW. Of course, fairly even on horsepower. Where the difference lies is in the way the tyre operates in these mixture of damp and wet patched racetrack. And can Montoya maintain the consistency he's driven with so far all race?
So Barrichello right in the hunt there, you can see on the super slow-mo as they come through Club Corner. He wants to move back up into 2nd place. The gap between Michael Schumacher and Montoya, remember, at around 15 seconds. Jacques Villeneuve is running in 4th. He's over a minute behind these two. So it's a long gap back to the BAR Honda, but he won't care about that. All he will be worried about is a chance to score points. Down in the Williams pit, it's really been an up and down day. And here
Kimi Raikkonen. So Raikkonen is out. Raikkonen was running in 10th place. Another engine failure. Coulthard had one this morning. Raikkonen had one yesterday. And Barrichello gets alongside. Can he get the job done into Cobb's corner?
He's going to have to be
Only touched. Right front left rear touch from Barrichello. But what a courageous move. Montoya gave him no room at all, but he gave him enough still to get away with it. But there was a touch left rear right front.
Fantastic, what a good move, but sad news for Kimi Raikkonen. Well, it all went wrong with the extra pit stops they made and poor tyre choice as it turned out in the weather conditions. But this was the blow-up, I think. Well, no, this is the replay of the battle for 2nd, and take a look at Barrichello.
Now watch, they turn in Barrichello. Oh, there it is, the touch. I mean, that was not enough to do any damage, I would have thought, to either car. But nevertheless, entering into that corner in that context, probably at about 150 miles an hour. So a scary moment. Whoa! Well, and Montoya fighting for grip on the middle to outside of the track, had to get as much room as possible, but at the same time couldn't afford to squeeze Barrichello, or both would have been out.
So once again, the Ferrari performance on the dry track proving to be slightly stronger than Williams BMW. Montoya can't quite match the pace of Rubens Barrichello now. The track is drying out that little bit more. Michael Schumacher has just crossed the line. These guys have got some traffic to deal with them right ahead. Ralf Schumacher, Jenson Button's in there as well. He's just been passed. And Montoya also now finding his way past Jenson Button safely as they continue on round. 47 laps being completed so far. So Michael Schumacher in control of the British Grand Prix, some 16 seconds ahead of his teammate now, Rubens Barrichello, who has moved into 2nd place after a feisty pass of Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya. Montoya now holding on to 3rd and really safe there as long as he has no mechanical problems, because his advantage over Villeneuve in 4th, some minute and 5 seconds, and then Panis running in 5th place and Heidfeld in 6th, still under a bit of pressure from Fisichella and the Jordan in 7th.
Yes, that's a little battle that's been evolving, and of course the Silverstone-based team against the Swiss-based team. As we once again see, well, this is a better good Ralf Schumacher being lapped by Barrichello and by Montoya. What a disappointing day for Ralf Schumacher. Further down the field, where we've got further retirements, Salo is out 5 laps ago, Webber out 6 laps ago. Oh, that's right, they only did 3 laps. So early retirements for Webber and for Salo.
Yeah, disappointment, and we've got 14, in fact 13 runners now with the retirement of Kimi Raikkonen. That's a good many retirements for a British Grand Prix. Normally we see a good reliability record here, but here's the man, Michael Schumacher. Dominant once again, storming away, using that middle section of the race. Well, it wasn't really the middle. The early stages when it rained and he put the intermediates on, that was his opportunity to get ahead of Montoya, and he grasped that opportunity, and ever since then, using those Bridgestone tyres to their full effect, he's been able to pull out the advantage. Fast again, a 1:24.455, fastest lap of the race there from Michael Schumacher.
And that is only 1 second per lap slower than Mika Häkkönen's dominant fastest lap in last year's Grand Prix, in conditions which are far from ideal.
Villeneuve's also lapping quickly at the moment, but he coming under some threat himself here from being lapped, and that means Michael Schumacher looking to lap everybody up to 4th position. What an amazing performance, and that is despite having made 3 pit stops in this race. Jacques Villeneuve has made 2.
So the progress continues. Michael Schumacher just lapping 1:24 as Barrichello a second a lap slower on that last lap. And well, this is why this man is a 4 times world champion. And by the French Grand Prix, if he wins here and wins in France, he could be crowned the 2000 and 2. World champion Montoya nevertheless hasn't given up, but just hasn't got the pace, running about half a second a lap now slower. In fact, over that than Barrichello in second place, and again Williams hoping to consolidate that second place and not able to. The speed of the Ferrari just too much again for the Williams BMW package.
But what a fight they've put up here today. It has been a stunning race throughout. The weather conditions certainly adding to the mix superbly well. And for Williams, it is disappointment. They had the pole position, they had the lead of the race in the early stages, but they just could not compete against the Bridgestone users, particularly Ferrari, once the rain started to fall. But Montoya's not giving up. He's been aiming to score some points, and that's what he's got the opportunity to do here, running in a safe third place, still 2.7 seconds behind Barrichello.
Well, Montoya sitting in third place, still pushing hard, going in the middle of 1 minute 25s, but now the Ferraris both consistently running in the middle of 124s, high 1 minute 24s. And what a tough day it's been. What an exciting Grand Prix. Those opening laps when it started dry, then the rain began to fall. And this has been, I think, the most exciting Grand Prix I've seen, certainly this year. And a race that there still could be some excitement, because down the field, Fisichella in 7th place is still battling away with Nick Heidfeld. There's just under 2 seconds difference. But Heidfeld also battling with Olivier Panis. He's at 1.6 seconds behind Panis in 5th place.
Yeah, so keep an eye on those battles. There's Fisichella. Well, we saw that on the classification. A little bit of, was that tyre smoke from the back of Montoya's car?
No, it was a little puff. I don't know whether it was a tyre smoke. It's unlikely a rear wheel would have locked at that point. And I didn't see a front wheel locking, but something we'll keep an eye on. As Michael Schumacher continues on his way on the exit now, out of Beckett, down Hanger Straight for the 51st time.
Yeah, just 10 laps to go for Michael Schumacher, looking for his second Grand Prix victory in the British Grand Prix and his 60th Grand Prix win overall. What a stunning record that is. The statistics keep on growing, and Michael Schumacher looking for his 7th win of the year. Now, interesting that there's some discussion about fuel levels, we believe, going on down there in the Williams pit. Maybe there's some concerns about the amount of fuel on board. Yeah, he's saying let's reduce the revs and then we can perhaps save fuel, something he's used to doing from his time racing in America.
Okay, one, we're going to go A up 2.
But they're actually asking him to change the engine setting effectively. They're asking him to change the engine setting, which he can do on the steering.
Who's behind? But I mean, he's in a position, he's got over a minute advantage over Villeneuve, so if Williams were uncertain about the amount of fuel on board, they could easily bring him in and give him a splash and dash, and if I was in their position with a minute advantage over 4th place, that's what I would be thinking of doing.
In total, it's Villeneuve, he's 68 seconds behind you, 68 seconds.
And that's for the information he needs to know. And now he perhaps, with a change of engine setting, the revs now not going quite so high. Hopefully he will have enough fuel to make it through to the end of the race.
But of course, with the track getting drier, you tend to go quicker, and that will then compensate for the reduction in RPM, and whatever the mixture setting would have been, you tend to want to lean the engine off, but leaning engines off are not what I like to do too often. These engines are at best hand grenades. If you start leaning them off too much, you pull the pin out on it.
That's right. Well, I think they certainly might have gambled a little bit with the fuel going in, because they knew they were in the battle with Barrichello when they both came into the pits at the same time, so they might have gone as marginal as possible. And with the dry conditions now, just using that bit more, they are going to have to conserve fuel in the remaining laps.
There is another battle going on. We're not seeing it really on screen right now, but it's an inter-team battle, because Panis is carving away Jacques Villeneuve's 4th place. It's down to just under 7 seconds. There's a blow up for Takata Suma. So Sato out, 10th place. Big blow up for Honda.
Well, that's a great shame as well for the Japanese. He was running in 10th place. Looked as though we were going to get both Jordans to the finish, but not to be, I'm afraid. And Sato, who hoped for so much from this British Grand Prix weekend, disappointed once again.
And she's going to blow just in the middle of Kopp's corner, and Sato doing a good job bringing the car in Eddie Jordan's face. Well, He's disappointed, but focus for Jordan is on Giancarlo Fisichella, but he's dropped away from Nick Heidfeld in 6th place, down to 3.2 seconds, so Fisichella unable to take that battle to 6th place. One more point for Jordan would give him 7 points, and if the two BARs finish 4th and 5th as they're running right now, they will have gained 5 points from this one Grand Prix.
Funny situation actually, John, if looking at Jordan's career in the past, they've had their ups and downs, as we know, over the years. And a few years ago, they came to Silverstone having scored no points whatsoever. That was back in 1998. Just looking back at that engine blow-up, it was pretty spectacular, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Fortunately, Sato was pretty much offline. He saw it, or he would have felt it and known about it before he got into Copse, but it really let go big time in the exit. And hopefully he didn't put any liquids down on the exit of the corner, which would be considered the ideal exit for those cars that are currently still on track racing. Michael Schumacher, in the meantime, is still pounding away, fastest second sector time of all day. Lap 1 minute 24.528, and Barrichello now some 18.2 seconds behind, but a 6.3 second advantage over Montoya, who's had to maybe rein back a little bit in terms of fuel in 3rd place.
Montoya's pace still looking fairly good, so he's reduced revs, but the lap times are staying pretty similar as Barrichello makes his way, trying to get past Nick Heidfeld here. And as you say, we can't really see Fisichella that close. Just see him in the background. He was much closer than this at one stage.
Yeah, he's back down to 3.3 seconds. The trouble for Montoya is that he is doing all the things that the team asked, but the track is getting drier. He's also in a rhythm, and when you're a driver in a rhythm, if you reduce revs or make changes to the engine, it doesn't actually make an enormous amount of difference in a Grand Prix. It might in a single flying lap, but not in a Grand Prix, because that rhythm is really what carries you through the Grand Prix, and you don't want to start breaking that unnecessarily.
Barrichello safely past Nick Heidfeld and maintains 2nd position, some 19 seconds behind his teammate Michael Schumacher. Looking at another Ferrari 1-2. No arguments about team orders on this occasion, however. Barrichello had to start from the back after stalling the engine at the start of the formation lap. What would have happened if he'd started up front? Well, that would have been a different story, but we could have had a 3-way tussle in the early stages for the lead. As it was, Barrichello's done a fantastic job to make up the lost ground and to be running in 2nd place.
Yes, and interestingly, he was quite cautious coming through bridge. He was nowhere near as committed as certainly he would have been in qualifying. And I think Rubens now under no real threat. 7.3 seconds advantage, and I'm sure the team are fully aware. They've watched the same pictures, Ferrari that is, watch the same pictures on their monitors on the pit lane, pit wall that you have at home, and they can also, in some degree, monitor all the radio traffic, so they'll know that Williams are marginal on fuel and that they're not going to be threatened by Williams. So Rubens can afford to drop back or ease off a little bit in the gap. In fact, between Michael and Barrichello now up to 20.4 seconds.
Yes, Panis is closing up a little bit to Jacques Villeneuve, just getting that little bit closer each lap around. Maybe not just Montoya will be conserving fuel, that is a factor to watch out for in the latter parts of this race.
Remember, Olivier Panis had to jump into the spare car because his car on the exit of the pits before the start of the race had a problem. And Olivier Panis having a frustrating weekend. Maybe all that frustration will be repaid to him, but that battle that is going on with his own teammate, just under 6 seconds, 5.8 seconds now. Olivier doesn't need to race his teammate. He must be careful not to try too hard, try not to get into a battle where it wouldn't be necessary, either to force his car or his teammate's car to a pace where there really isn't a challenge. Heidfeld is a further 3.6 seconds behind in 6th place and offering no threat to Olivier Panis.
David Richards, team boss of BAR, we saw him on the pit wall there for a moment. What a moment this could be for the BAR Honda team. Absolutely no points scored throughout the season so far. We've got over the halfway point in the championship, but a chance today to score points for both Jacques Villeneuve and Olivier Panis, to score 5 points, and that would be such a boost to their fortunes. Of course, this is their local track, the team based just down the road in Brackley. It's been a tough time for the team, but what an opportunity this could be. Just looking back, last time they were in the points, in fact, was last year at Monza, so nearly a year ago, not quite, but it has been a long time.
Well, Ralf Schumacher suddenly has got a bit of a wake-up call, I think, from the team. He's some 6.9 seconds behind Fisichella, who now, if Fisichella's close up to Heidfeld, Heidfeld seems to be struggling. Fisichella at 1.6 seconds, so there's going to be a major battle Giancarlo Fisichella trying to run down the Sauber in 6th place. And of course, Olivier Panis stretching his advantage now to 4.1 seconds over Heidfeld. Now the Heidfeld's got a problem with grip and maybe just tyre wear, or a problem we're not aware of, but Fisichella making a last dash challenge to the Sauber for that single point for 6th place.
Let's just ride with Michael for a moment there. Oh, well, in fact, so we'll switch and have a look at Barrichello. Looks like Michael's beginning to take things a little easy with just 4 laps to go. His trademark as sensible to just drop the pace off a little bit. There's no rush, and his 2nd place man is Barrichello, his teammate. Anyway, there you can see Fisichella. That was the gap between Heidfeld and Fisichella as they came through, back down to 1.6 seconds.
Yes, and that's been closing down that gap over the last 3 or so laps. I've been keeping an eye on Heidfeld and Fisichella. It got ready to 3.8 seconds, but look, a problem. That's Jenson Button. Well, he pulled out of the way, but has he run out of fuel? He's coming into the pit lane very slowly indeed, and he's just coasting down the pit lane. I think he's lost the engine. I think he's out of petrol.
He was in 10th. He's just been passed by David Coulthard, who now therefore comes up into 10th place. It has not been a good day for the British drivers, I'm afraid. Alan McNish didn't even get to start from the grid. Eddie Irvine went out after 5 laps of the race. He spun out. And then we've seen problems for Coulthard in the pits, and now we've seen problems for Jenson Button. Sorry, 33 laps he has done.
The engine's still running, in fact, so it isn't a fuel problem. It's another problem. It may well be that the electronics. Let's look and see what this is. Well, yes, Ralf Schumacher being allowed to unlap himself on 3rd place, and Pablo Montoya.
So Button makes his stop. Can they get him back out again? Engine does sound very rough there, and I don't think that this race. Well,
there's a left front problem as well. Looking around the brakes, and is it a mechanical part, a suspension component, and upright? They're looking certainly around the hub, brake area, some of the wheel bearing, something like that. Inside that disc, the hub, the wheel bearing, all that so finely made. These parts are like a piece of Fabergé jewellery. They're just absolute pieces. Take weeks to make. In fact, cost a fortune. And a driver can write one off in the blink of an eye and just walk away and say, oh, sorry.
Well, Michael Schumacher has nothing to apologise about. He is storming away once more, looking for victory here at Silverstone. His advantage maintained over Rubens Barrichello, who's just put in a very quick first sector, so we might see the fastest lap of this race go a little quicker again. He already has the fastest lap, Barrichello. Might go a little quicker in the closing stages. Nothing to lose, of course. We have 12 cars still running out of the 21 cars that originally set off. Well, I say 21, of course McNish didn't even get to move off the grid, so 20 cars actually set off into Copse for the first time. 12 of them left, and Barrichello still charging along on this lap as he enjoys the latter part of the race. Well, a great performance for BAR Honda here, John. Possibly they've still got to make it through a couple more laps. Villeneuve 4th, Panis in 5th.
Yes, and just looking in down the pit lane, Jenson Button has actually stepped out of his Renault. There's a problem on that left front wheel. It looks to be to do with the mechanism, the retention mechanism that ensures that the wheel nut stays in place, and whatever the cause was, I thought it was something that looked like he just limped into the pits out of fuel. He came in that slowly, but in fact it's been a mechanical problem. It may have been a number of problems, but certainly the left front wheel suspension at the wheel end. Clearly the problem. Renault pulled the car sadly back into the garage. It's not been a great day for them either. With Jarno Trulli off at Copse now, Button out of the race on lap 57 for him.
But Michael Schumacher is now very much into the closing stages of this Grand Prix. He has a lap and a half to complete. Brings it through into the complex for the penultimate time. And the Ferrari fans are cheering and shouting as it looks like it's going to be another dominant 1-2 finish for this team. What a car they have this season. They've used it perfectly as well today, and the combination of Ferrari and Bridgestone tyres is really what has had the advantage today, John. Of course, having the 4 times world champion behind the wheel helps.
It certainly does, and if you want to make motor racing more competitive, then put Michael Schumacher out to pasture, but that's not going to happen, certainly in the immediate future. In the meantime, Barrichello, that 1:23.083, actually eclipsed last year's fastest race lap by Mika Hakkinen by about just over 0.3 of a second there. Ferrari engineers climbing up on the protective barriers to wave to Michael Schumacher. A stunning drive from the world champion. and never ever put a foot wrong all afternoon.
He battled with Juan Pablo Montoya in the early stages of the race. They had a fantastic wheel-to-wheel confrontation for several laps, but once the rain came down and the intermediate tyres came on, it was all Michael Schumacher from then on, and he has controlled the pace of the race as perfectly as we have come to expect. He is the master at the moment, and he has been for some years now, and Michael Schumacher now just coming up to complete the race. This will be the 12th win for Ferrari at Silverstone, matching the number of victories that McLaren has had at this track. It hasn't always been a lucky track for them, but Ferrari did take their first ever win in Formula One here at Silverstone back in 1951, and this will be their 152nd victory in the history of Grand Prix racing. It's courtesy of Michael Schumacher. He comes out of the final corner, and it's victory for the second time in his career at Silverstone. Michael Schumacher wins the British Grand Prix.
Fantastic.
Very good job, Michael. Superb today. Well done.
And I think Ross Brawn sums it up.
Broke the jinx of Silverstone.
Yes, the jinx of Silverstone. Rubens Barrichello, another superb drive from the Brazilian.
Happy it's over, I tell you, with this weather here, so unpredictable. Ross, I want to say thank you for what you've done today. I don't think I would have taken the right decision today. Wow, what a race. Luckily, Rubens got second as well. Fantastic, guys. Well deserved.
Well done to you, Michael. It was very difficult. Well done.
Well, that's the radio traffic we're allowed to hear from Ferrari. There's a lot of others we don't, but we're delighted Ferrari team, Jean-Todt, Ross Brawn, congratulating both Michael and Rubens on a brilliant job.
Interesting comment there that Michael obviously felt he would have chosen differently, and it was obviously Ross's decisions there on tyre choice, presumably, and when to make the stop and which tyres to use. And Michael saying very much, well, thank you for that. I think I might have chosen differently. Ross Brawn, the master tactician, once again responsible for a Ferrari 1-2, this time at Silverstone.
And the happiest man in the pit lane isn't Jean-Todt, isn't Ross Brawn. It is, in fact, David Richards of BAR, who have scored their first points of the season. They get a third, a fourth and a fifth, 5 points, and I promise you Dave Richards today will think he is king of Banbury.
Yeah, that is a fantastic result. I'm so pleased for the team that's put in so much effort. The BAR team, the last time they had both cars in the points was the American Grand Prix of 2000. So it's been a while, but Villeneuve and Panis both in the points here today, and maybe they can do something with the rest of this season. Jordan, of course, not making it into the points. Fisichella finished 7th after a race-long battle. It was Heidfeld who picked up the final point for Sauber, and that's good news for the Swiss team as they try and chase down Renault in the Constructors' Championship.
And interesting, Ben, we got a glimpse in the pit lane of Jean-Todt walking over to one of the senior Bridgestone, I was going to say engineers, he isn't, he's one of the senior Bridgestone management, and saying thank you very much, because they know how much this victory was a part of Bridgestone as it was of Ferrari and their two drivers.
Yes, and of course Bridgestone a major part of the reason that we see both BAR Hondas in the points. But Michael was delighted, and you heard them talk about breaking the Silverstone jinx. He has just had the one victory at Silverstone before. That was a wet race as well, and it's happened for him again 4 years later. He's taken the win, and it's a 1-2 for Ferrari. In the Constructors' points table, they leap further ahead, and all Michael Schumacher needs to do now is win in France and then have the opportunity to win and take the title at the German Grand Prix in Hockenheim. What an opportunity that would be for him to take that record, to match the record of Juan Manuel Fangio, and to be able to do it at his home Grand Prix. It could happen, but first of all, he'll have to win the French Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. Now, for the moment, Jenson Button down in 7th place in the Drivers' Championship. Disappointed today, of course, retired right at the end of the race. Montoya driving superbly, and what a display they put on for us in the early stages of this race. And Barrichello also, good run from him. That was a superb overtaking manoeuvre he put on his mate Montoya.
Well, if you think what Barrichello had to do, he had to start at the back of the field, and he came up through the field. He started to get some resistance when he got up to the Renaults. Nevertheless, he made his way through the field. He proved that overtaking is possible in Formula One, and drove an absolutely brilliant race. And I think that getting also fastest race lap and beating the fastest lap from last year's race, Mika Häkkinen's 1:23.4 with a 23.0 in these conditions is a pretty masterful day's work from the Brazilian.
Great reception for Michael Schumacher after that. that was a hard-won race. And look at that, the two BAR Honda teammates. What relief, what an opportunity. Both in the points for the first time this season after struggling so much. And there, Michael Schumacher and Ross Brawn, the unbeatable combination sometimes, nearly always, in fact, and particularly when there's any question over strategy.
And I think Ross Brawn is going to be the Ferrari representative on the podium to receive the Constructors' Award, and a thoroughly well-deserved. Ross, of course, lives just outside Oxford, and but most of the time is spent down in Italy in Maranello. And I think there will be a few bottles of fine wine opened this evening by Ross, and it's going to be a memorable Grand Prix here today for Ferrari as well.
Look at the Bridgestone runners in that top group of cars. Only Montoya getting a Michelin up amongst them, and that was a pretty heroic effort for him when you lost so much time in those wet conditions, those semi-wet conditions that suited the Bridgestone Intermediate so well. Villeneuve and Panis for BAR Honda. Heidfeld scoring the final point for Sauber, and the other finishers, Fisichella. Ralf Schumacher, a disappointing afternoon, but they did have problems in the pit lane, remember. He had problems each time he came in. They had a problem putting the tyre on, and then they had a problem refueling, had to send him back in again. So Ralf ended up down in 8th. Massa, with lots of spins, ended up in 9th place. And not many classified, really, when it comes to a British Grand Prix. Many more non-finishers than we normally expect.
But no doubt weather conditions played a large part of that, and some were driver error, some were just simply mechanical problems. But Michael, now the leap, maybe not as high as it was in his earlier career, but nevertheless there it was.
And now the Italian anthem for the winning constructor, Ferrari. Michael Schumacher does look happy, doesn't he? I mean, he always does, but I think this means a lot to him to win here at Silverstone again after 4 years away from the top step of the podium. And of course, the race where he broke his leg, remember, back in 1999. The first time he's won at Silverstone since he broke his leg. He's run competitive races. Last year he was beaten by Mika Hakkinen. This year he did everything right. And Ross Brawn, suitably enough, delighted with another 1-2 finish for Ferrari. Well, Montoya took the battle to Ferrari today. He started from pole position, but he did not quite have the pace, particularly in the damp conditions and even in the dry towards the end. But it's the first time he's finished since Austria, and he'll be pleased about that. At least he's put that string of retirements behind him.
Yes, I think that's a big plus for a driver when you've gone through a string of retirements. You just wonder when you're going to stop. Now Ross Well, he likes a drop of champagne. He drinks only the best, and he's getting a really good dousing with champagne. Juan Pablo just squirts Michael in the face. Never a clever idea. Michael's pretty good at doing it. He's been on the podium so many times. And now Ross, well, what can you do? Just cover up. You know what it's like when you get champagne in your eyes. It stings, it smarts, even with the glass as well.
I usually
there
drink
you
it,
are,
actually.
Ross. Well, Ross will certainly have a lot. He will drink it, but oh, Rubens just pours it down Michael's throat. He'll come back up pretty quickly if he's not too careful. And it's from the podium very quickly into the unilateral rooms for the press conferences. And you're going to see two very joyous Ferrari drivers, and I think a relieved Juan Pablo Montoya. I'm not convinced we'd have had quite the same outcome had this been a totally dry race. I think that Montoya was up for it today. And of course, all the problems that existed in the pit lane, well, would they have occurred with the refueling? Would the problems with the wheel changes have occurred as well?
What a race of incident and drama. The British Grand Prix today has been the most eventful race of the season. We saw some great races in the early part of the year, and today has certainly matched, if not bettered, those. We just did not know where to look next in most of the race, just settling down in the closing stages after Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello had established themselves 1 and 2. The customary leap from Michael Schumacher, win number 7 this season, thank you very much. And the record of 9 victories in one season, which he has matched himself on 2 previous occasions, surely up to be beaten as well this year.
Yes, it's going to be a case of rewriting the rule or the regulations and the record books, because Michael Schumacher, we see how much that champagne shower, it really is a lot more forceful than you think when you see it from just looking at it at the podium. And then Rubens just pours a drop more than down Michael's throat. You can see, well, after a race, tough race, maybe not physically the most difficult or demanding Grand Prix, and in these conditions a lot less load going through the high G-force parts of the circuit. Nevertheless, with 3 stops, and the unpredictability, I think, was the weather was the biggest trouble. You couldn't tell, but Ferrari and the Bridgestone runners were best placed to deal with that intermediate Bridgestone tyre, able to deal with the wet weather conditions where Michelin really were stuck with either the grooved slick tyre or the full wet tyre, and neither of which was appropriate for a very significant part of the race.
So the celebrations down there in the Ferrari pit, and the delight, despite having had a dominant season so far, they knew that they earned victory here today. Great pit work, great slick stops today from them after problems for so many of the other teams, and they're very proud of their achievement, and rightly so.
Well, the Italian team, everything went perfectly. The pit stops, refueling, they don't seem to have these problems. I don't know why McLaren had this problem. I don't know why Williams had the problem, and Rubens Barrichello's sister, well, the Constructors' Trophy just getting a hold of it, and no doubt she and Rubens and the Ferrari team will have a celebration at the motorhomes shortly after.
Well,
and that gentleman holding the champagne actually is one of the team's electricians, but a once-a-year worker. He comes along. He actually lives in Basingstoke, and he helps the team out here at the British Grand Prix every year. And what a magic moment it is for him, and well, great moment for Ferrari and Ferrari fans all around the world.
Let's go to the press conference now.
And it's welcome to the top 3 finishing drivers in the 2002 British Grand Prix. It's Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, and Juan Pablo Montoya. Michael, it's your 7th win of the season, and you really seem to enjoy it, and so did the Silverstone crowd.
Yeah, they haven't had many occasions to enjoy victories with me in my time in Silverstone. So obviously they do enjoy the few we had.
Obviously great car and a great drive, but perhaps especially a really good tyre today.
Yes, so it's the package. I mean, we know we have a very good car. We know we have a very good tyre, especially for a race, and we have sort of worked for that very hard with Bridgestone together, with the team. But I think today it was purely down to when to put what tyres. And I have to say, thanks to Ross, he did a great job today, because I wasn't sure, because we had this drizzling of rain, and sure, in that lap we came in, it was a lot of water, but it could have well stopped immediately, and then you should have stayed out on slicks. And I wasn't sure what sort of decision I should take, and I was glad Ross took the decision for me, and he took the right one.
How much were conditions changing lap by lap?
Quite a lot. I mean, it was almost dry, then it started raining again, and It was very tricky even then because the intermediates sort of worn down and they almost were slicks, and then it started raining again, and it was very tricky at certain moments.
Thanks, Michael. Rubens, probably one of your most remarkable races. You went from 21st to 2nd in 19 laps. Talk us through it.
It was quite busy. I mean, it's been a fantastic race in terms of result, because I couldn't wait for more, and it was just I select first gear on the formation lap, and the car, the engine turned it off, and it was a shame because I just thought of Barcelona again, not having the ability to start. And when the car got going, I mean, as Michael said, we have the package and the tires and everything, so it seemed quite good. So I was coming quite quickly. On the intermediates, I think I pushed a little bit too hard on them, and they were completely gone. And I had a spin, but even though I kept the engine running, so I had quite a busy afternoon.
And a nice, fun scrap with Juan at the end.
Well, it's good because it's quite fair, It's we can fight forever, but it's been quite good, so we enjoy. Yeah.
Well, it was all going so well while it was dry, but once it rained, things started to go away for you. In fact, as Michael went past, you were almost laughing into your helmet on the team radio. Was you just like, that's it, there's nothing I can do?
Well, as soon as I started drizzling, it looked like actually our slick tire was better in the damp conditions, and it was a bit quicker than Michael. As soon as he'll dry, he'll catch me again, and he was a lot quicker at the time. You can see the lap times. I think it's like 2 seconds quicker. They're faster lap than mine. And from then I really couldn't do anything. As soon I came out of the pits, I think it was like 8-second lead, and so it took me 2 laps. I was thinking, and I was pushing really hard, trying to do something, but it's impossible.
You had that nice scrap with Rubens at the end. I believe you may have had a slight problem towards the end.
No, not really. Right before we pitted, my tires seemed to hold on a lot better than Bridgestone. So I think Michelin, has done a lot of development on it, and it's it's a bit competitive. And in the outlook, Rubens slipped through. I was starting to catch him a bit, and as we go into bridge, I said, I looked at the other fast corner. I said he's going to lift a bit, and it just kept it wide open. And when I get out of the corner, I was ahead of him. It was pretty good. But then, tires seemed to go off. I think it's a lot better than before. It's a big step forward, but I think we still need to do quite a lot of work.
Thanks, Pablo. Michael, go on to Magny-Cours, where you've won many times. Your confidence must be absolutely sky high.
Yeah, and actually with the car we have, with the package we have, we sort of comfortable, or we're feeling comfortable. But then Magny-Cours is a very particular circuit where tires we have seen can play the opposite effect than what we have seen so far. It's more probably like a Canada Grand Prix. Things will be a bit more tight, especially if we have very hot condition, which we should expect for there. So I'm looking forward to a very tight race where still we have the opportunity and chance to win it, but wait and see. I mean, first have to do it.
Guys, it was a great race. Thanks very much. Now a word from each of your own language, starting with Michael.
Well, yes, indeed. It was a great race, as Nick says there. We enjoyed the spectacle, the show, and Michael Schumacher enjoyed the fact that he came through to take the victory in the end. And as he said, really, the package just that little bit too strong for everyone else to compete with today. Montoya, best of the rest, third place. He certainly gave the battle to Ferrari in the early stages. At the end of the day, though, he had to settle for that third position. And, of course, the drivers not making it into the press conference, but probably beaming more widely even than these three. Jacques Villeneuve fourth and Olivier Panis fifth.
Yes, interestingly, that Barrichello, Panis and Fisichella all had their fastest race laps on lap 58. So while we were seeing what turned out to be a fairly easy victory for Ferrari at the end of 60 laps. Further down the field, there was a real battle royal going on for fourth, fifth, sixth, and in fact seventh positions. So everybody was fully committed, absolutely maximum attack, just to try and make up in those last laps whatever time